Yeah, let's talk about uh, the show.
The vague show. Dylan, what did you think of the show?
I thought that it was a show, definitely, and
It was. Did it show you things?
it did. It did things I had never seen before.
How? What a novel concept. Where
Yes.
can I find these shows?
Well, they've been around for quite some time on a handy invention that we call the television set. Before that,
Where can I acquire one of these magical
before
devices?
that, they were on a thing called radio, which
The
video,
shows?
yes, but
Wow.
then
How
video
did they show you things? That's an audio format.
but then video killed the radio star. But it's okay
Right.
because
I
douchebags on
studied that in a class once.
but it's okay because douchebags on the internet who can't afford to make shows will do like audio shit online. So you can still do radio. It's just
Dylan, do you want to do that with me?
why not?
Do you want to do it right now?
We could. It could be called a. We could cast it to people's pods. It could be a podcast.
Sounds good to me. Do you want to do it about the Universe 6 saga of Dragon Ball Super?
Yes, what a marvelous advance that would be in the field of science.
I love it. Let's fucking do it. Hello, everyone. I am Zazubaar, and welcome to this week's episode of the Demons from Outer Space. Joining me as always, Super DM64, aka Dylan McCandless.
I people, I really need a thing. I don't have a thing.
You need a thing.
I can't think of a thing either. Like I've tried, I can't think of a thing.
Do you ever just shout something because you feel like you need to shout it? Like just a instinct? Like a catchphrase, I guess, is what I'm saying.
No, I don't have Tourette's, but
That's basically what I was asking. That's a serious disadvantage you have in the world of podcasting then, Dylan, is that you don't have Tourette's.
apparently,
Not that I have Tourette's. I don't. So which is why I am also seriously disadvantaged in the world of podcasting. It's unfortunate for me. We're not making fun of people with Tourette's, by the way. Or are we? I don't know if we actually are though. It doesn't matter. We don't mean anything by it, so that's why it
no.
doesn't matter. Anyway, that went to a weird place.
If you have
But
if you have Tourette's, it's fine. You're fucking hilarious, by the way. But it's
you have more of an advantage being on a podcast than we do. So congratulations on that front, certainly.
I mean, you get to cuss and like it's a condition. Like you can't stop. I just do it cuz, you know.
As we announced at the end of last week's episode, we are going to be talking about the Universe 6 saga of Dragon Ball Super on this week's episode of the Demons from Outer Space. As has been sort of a long time coming. We planned this a while back, and you've been dying for us to do this since a while back. You watched this a while ago.
Yes.
Did you watch this when it was on? Or did you like get back into it while it was on and you like had to binge watch some of it, or what happened there?
It was
Explain.
it was the second way cuz I kind of stopped watching for a while when it was just the Resurrection F stuff
Right.
cuz I got so tired of that fucking rehash and I knew that it was going to get better. At some point I saw episode 28 and I was like, "Oh, cool." And then I didn't keep following it for a while and then so I wound up coming back in like halfway through the Universe 6 arc and like having to binge the first half of it and then watching the rest of it week to week as it come on and I've been watching it week to week ever since.
Right. Okay. So I only watched the first couple episodes of Dragon Ball Super, if that, when I started. I don't even really remember. But then I didn't watch the entire first Battle of Gods rehash saga until we reviewed it on this show at the beginning of this new season of the newly formed DFOS.
And that
So
and that set a trend.
it
uh,
did indeed, because then we did it again with Resurrection F. So I watched all of the Resurrection F stuff to get ready to do that podcast. And then for this episode, guess what? I rewatched all of the Universe 6 saga of Dragon Ball Super in preparation for this podcast. Now, usually what I also do as a tradition is I also watch like 3 episodes of the saga following the one we're going to review. So
Right.
like I watched the first couple episodes of Resurrection F before we did the video on Battle of Gods, or the podcast rather. I'm sorry. It's all the same shit to me though, because it all gets put on the same place. And then I watched like I think only the first episode of the Universe 6 saga after I watched all of Resurrection F in preparation for the last podcast we did. So, in that tradition, I actually kind of broke it in that, well, I sort of broke it. in that I watched the next couple episodes of Dragon Ball Super following Universe 6, which is the Future Trunks saga. Now, that saga is still going on, so only a couple episodes have come out. So I watched all of them because there were only like 4 or 5, I think. So I just watched all of those. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am all caught up on Dragon Ball Super. It has been... Thank you.
Are you gonna watch?
Feels so good.
Are you gonna watch week to week now, like a person, or are you gonna?
Yeah, probably. If I don't forget, then yeah, I'll keep watching week to week. Um, if you like text me every week and you're like, oh my god, did you see this on Dragon Ball Super? I'll probably watch it and then we can text about it and then
It airs.
never talk about it again.
It airs Sundays in Japan, which is our Saturdays. So I always wind up watching it on our Sundays because by then it's subbed out on the internet. So
Yeah, there are some very devoted fan subbers out there, and we love them.
apparently some people watch it live as it's airing in Japan. I don't know how that's done, and I also
I
don't.
think you could do it with a YouTube live stream. I think.
I don't know how
I
that's.
think there's a YouTube live stream that does it.
I don't know if that's how it's done. I don't know exactly how it's done, and I also don't know if it has subs at that point. But it's definitely better for me just to wait another day and watch it at my leisure.
Yeah, I mean they're also like
And
they're so short.
I'm still,
you know.
I'm still fucking current because I'm still watching it week to week. It's just.
Yeah, they're so short too. It's like it's so easy to get caught up. Like watching the entire Universe 6 saga in preparation for this podcast was a breeze, and then watching the stuff after it was a breeze. Like
Yeah.
at this point, I just wanted to binge watch all the stuff I hadn't seen because I just wanted to be caught up on current Dragon Ball for one. But then also
which is also says well about the Universe 6 arc because
it does
because
I also really liked it. I didn't mind binge watching all of it so quickly and so
watching
close
the
together.
first 2 arcs is not a breeze because of the rehash shit.
Yeah, you feel like you're watching a longer, more drawn out, less well animated version of the movie. I re-listened to the first podcast we did about Dragon Ball Super today, and there was a lot of like weird use of adjectives in that. So I'm trying to be a little better about that now. I'm more self conscious about it. Like I used the phrase more poorly a lot, and you like that's not really. It's not really proper English, and it really bugged me when I listened to it before, so I'm very self-conscious about it. Anyway, irrelevant to my internal monologue, but yeah, no, this is much better, and I mean that's pretty much been everybody's consensus. So I don't feel any need to like draw that out in any way. I just want to say it's a lot better. I enjoyed watching it a lot more.
For one thing, the animation has been steadily getting better. Because that shit. I mean, you still have your episodes, but Toriyama fucking complained about that shit that was going on in the Battle of Gods arc, and they've certainly made a greater effort, especially the big moments.
I think it's still a really mixed bag. Some of it looks fine. It does it's a mixed bag. It goes up and down. But I think it still spends quite a bit of time during the fight segments on the downside of things. I think there's a lot of like really weird corners cut in the fights to make them easier to animate. There's a lot of standing around doing nothing, as there always is in Dragon Ball when you have 2 people fighting.
Right.
But that's a given as part of the franchise. But even just in the fights themselves, there seems to be a lot of corners cut to make it easier to animate, and that's unfortunate. But it doesn't hold back. It doesn't hold back too much though, because one of the first things I wrote down. I have notes this time, Dylan, as I mentioned before we started recording. So we're gonna go through my notes in just a minute here. But one thing that I wrote down, let me just find it here, was that the choreography and aesthetics of the fights are not what shine. It's the creative ideas behind the fight and each character's thought process that really keeps you engaged. And that's how I felt watching this a lot of the time, was that I wasn't, like kind of in awe of how great it looked, but I was more kind of like, oh, this is really creative and really fun and really interesting, and these characters are what's keeping me coming back and keeping me engaged. That's what I thought a lot more, so I don't know if you agree. There was one moment in particular that I remember being blown away by animation-wise, but I want to talk about it later.
Nothing in this looks even remotely as bad as Episode 5 did. Or the...
Of the Battle of God saga? No, certainly not.
Or the Frieza henchmen in the Revival of F story arc, because they couldn't have them floating around and moving like they did in the movie, so they were just images behind Frieza.
And this was a much smaller scaled story, I think, in terms of it was only set in one location pretty much. So
Well,
that was
smaller
but
scale.
it felt like it was for a reason as opposed to the other two sagas, because this time it was designed for that from the get-go.
Well,
It was designed to have that smaller scale.
it's interesting because you're right. In terms of the location and like the number of characters involved, it is certainly a smaller scale. Yet in terms of like stakes, it's still like a pretty big story. In terms of what's going on between
Well,
involving the whole contest between Champa and Beerus.
it's sort of an example of minimalism, isn't it? In that we're exploring the differences and similarities between two different universes and watching representatives of them fight, which is a crazy out there cosmic concept with
Yeah,
all these insane, weird cosmic characters in the midst of it. But it takes place on one small planet that has no name. That you can literally, it's almost like King Kai's planet. Like you can see space from it, and they're all contained in this like tiny little bubble, and they're on this small stage. And from the get-go, when Vados is designing the stage, she's like, let's keep it small so that way we can see what's going on.
yeah,
It does get upgraded during the actual saga. It gets a little bit bigger,
yeah.
but even still.
During the tournament, they decided to make the stage bigger to make ring outs more difficult.
Right. But Dylan, did you rewatch
Because
this?
Goku straight up cheated in that first fight because he had no other. I mean,
He did.
not really.
He had no discourse though. No, I mean
Well,
he was smart about it. He was
it's not
smart
really
about it.
cheating because it aligns with the rules of the tournament. So I
Right.
can't call it cheating. But
But he didn't beat him with martial arts. This is
no, and to see Goku have to resort to that is insane because normally
but it lined up
never
with the
set up
ending of.
for that.
No, no, I definitely agree. It was certainly out of character, but out of character for a reason, because I think that Toriyama did that because of the way the last arc ended, where Goku had to learn something about, you know, the need to just give up on, the what's the word, the just like the thrill of battle and doing what needs to be done,
Hmm.
uh, and that's what he did in that moment. He did what he had to do to win,
Yeah.
and I think that was a nice way to
Does,
uh,
does he,
a nice moment for his character following the Resurrection F saga that I don't necessarily we think we got enough of later. Like I wish we got more continuations for Goku's character following what happened at the end of Resurrection F.
right?
But anyway, so Dylan, did you rewatch this in preparation for this podcast? Just want to
No,
ask
I didn't. I
before I
didn't.
said this. I didn't think so. All right,
It's all
so
pretty fresh.
I didn't think so. I mean, that was my thing too. Was I was a bit concerned about watching because this is the most I've had to watch in preparation for the show. So I was a bit worried about, and I watched a lot of it late at night when I was tired after working. So I was a bit worried about retaining memory sometimes. But I have a pretty fair recollection of it. I rewatched the first two episodes right before we got on the call tonight. So
Right.
I should be pretty clear. But I also have some handy dandy notes as I mentioned. So Dylan,
Strangely
what
enough, I rewatched Resurrection F the other day, the movie, but I
Oh,
didn't.
I was actually thinking of doing that too because and we'll talk about this a little bit later, I suppose as well. But I don't know, I guess we can just get it out of the way now. Um, I kind of miss having watched so much Dragon Ball without the American cast. I kind of miss the American cast, seeing those
Yeah.
character models and everything makes me nostalgic.
Oh,
So I want to go.
I can't
I want to go back
wait.
and watch something I like with the American cast. I know what you're gonna say, so say it because I feel the same way.
I can't wait until we get a dub of fucking Black Goku. I can't wait to hear Sean Schimmel.
Oh God, that's gonna be great. Yeah.
Wait to hear Sean Schimmel doing Black Goku. Like the Japanese actress is actually really good as Black Goku. Like
She's great,
I've,
right?
I've
Yeah.
never been able to adjust to that high pitched voice for regular Goku just because of the way I was exposed to the series growing up. I've never been able to adjust to that Japanese voice for Goku. I mean, I've gotten used to it,
Me too.
but I've
Yeah.
just never
That's
been
what I was
able
gonna
to
say.
like. It's still just not what I think of when I think Goku, but she has a different tonality when she does the Black Goku thing. That's like, oh, it's so great. We're not even talking about Universe 6 anymore, but you were talking.
No, I'm with you. What I was just gonna say was, yeah, we'll get to the Black Goku stuff at the beginning of next season. But yeah, we are strictly focusing on the Universe 6 saga, even though I watched all of the Black Goku stuff that has been released. So we're just gonna strictly focus on Universe 6 though,
Hopefully,
and the kind of 2 episode mini arc that happens afterwards.
hopefully the arc is over by then. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to go on.
I doubt it's going to go on that long. We're not coming back till the beginning of October, so.
You never knew with Z though. With Z, it was like some arcs will be
That's true.
fucking 5 episodes, and then other arcs will be fucking 3 years of your life. Like you never.
But remember the reason why that was, because the manga was being published at the same time, and they didn't know what Toriyama was going to do, so they had to wait and put filler in, so that way they could work around his big plot points that he got to in the books.
Te-
And you don't have to really worry about that with this, even though it does feel like sometimes we have some of that retaining Dragon Ball Z filler, but I think that's just because it's Toriyama,
but
and that's just
technically,
kind of what he does.
but technically, nothing in Super is filler because it all comes from Toriyama. It's
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it just kind of feels that way. But
like
anyway,
we have episodes that I call filler episodes, but they're not.
that's what I'm saying.
But they're not
Yeah.
really filler episodes.
No, I know they're not made to fill in gaps that don't exist with Toriyama source material, but what they do feel like that kind of has the same effect is they feel like they're filler for Toriyama to go, okay, I don't know what the next big thing is, so I'm going to do this little thing to get us there. And that's kind of how the two episode arc at the end of this arc feels with that Monica on the alien planet two-parter.
Always.
But I have that in my notes, so we'll get there.
That was a 3-parter, wasn't it?
Yes, you're right, my bad. I forgot that. See, I watched 2 of them in one go today, and they didn't feel like 2 episodes because I skipped ahead a bit of what I'd already seen, so it felt like one longer episode. But anyway,
Yeah. Before that, we had the
you're
fan.
right. It
Before
is a
that, we had the
3-part.
fan episode, and before that, we had the Goku versus Beerus at the party.
Right. Oh, that's a great episode too. We have to be sure to cover all that because that's all really great. But okay. So what I wanted to do though, Dylan, since I just rewatched it, or I just watched it for the first time, as a matter of fact, I wanted to go through all the notes that I wrote down, having just rewatched it, and this was also in the midst of me watching those last couple episodes on the alien planet. So these are all like my really fresh thoughts on the show. So I figured we can go through all these. It'll kind of hopefully rekindle some of your memories of what happened and some of your feelings, and we can see if we agree on some things. We can kind of, gauge each other's feelings on the entire arc. And then once we're through that, if there's anything else that I didn't get into on here, you can bring up, and then we can just get through the rest of the episode that way. So, Dylan, the first thing that I wrote down here in my Dragon Ball Super Universe 6 Saga notes was, it feels like it has a reason to exist. The dialogue and characters are spot on, reacting to a creative, fun, new story. And that's in contrast to the previous 2 sagas with Resurrection F and Battle of Gods, which kind of felt like they didn't have to be there. They felt like they were rehashes of the movies for no reason.
They didn't just feel that
and
way.
They were a bit of a slog to get there.
They were that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But they felt, and as entertaining as they were at times, as we said in the podcast we did on them, they still felt that way at the end of the day, like things that they had to get through to get us to a new and interesting place.
It wasn't a matter of, oh, I feel like this is really unnecessary. It was a matter of, wow, this is really unnecessary. And like,
Yeah.
they got to show some things that were neat. Like we got to see a little bit of Beerus like just going around the universe and doing his thing before he went to King Kai's planet to meet Goku.
We got to see Frieza training with oh god, what's his name? Tagoma, yeah.
We got the first 2 episodes of the show, which is like where we catch up with Goku and what he's up to, and we get that great episode of Vegeta taking his family to the amusement park. But
absolutely,
I still maintain that I think this show would be so much better if it was just those first 2 episodes, then Battle of Gods, the movie, Resurrection F, the movie, and just start at episode 28. And every now and then they'll flash back to stuff that happened in the show version of those 2 arcs, and it won't really line up with what happened in the movies. But you can overlook that. You'll have a much better viewing experience, in my opinion, if you just watch those 2 movies and then jump into the show at episode 28. Because it was so terrible, just the rehashes. And episode 28 is such a breath of fresh air. I don't know if you had this.
It really is.
Watching it, but episode 28 is just amazing because, first of all, you formally introduce Champa. I think he had some appearances before that, but it was all like mysterious and shit.
He pops up at the beginning and the end of Resurrection F, I think.
But because
you do see him before the Frieza stuff starts.
Yeah, but we actually get to meet him and Vatos,
yeah,
and like get a sense of their personalities and shit, and it's great.
And what they're doing is talked about finally.
And it was just great to watch those 2 episodes, or that episode, because I was like, finally, I'm seeing something new from this new Dragon Ball series. I don't know why Toriyama felt the need to retell the first 2 movies. It's not like he cares about like the viewers being confused. He's already dropped Jocko in there, even though that they never adapted that manga.
And they talk about him like he was a thing in the past.
Yeah, there's a great. I forgot about this until I rewatched the movie, but there's a great throwaway line in Resurrection F, where Krillin's like, "I don't understand how Bulma has all these weird friends," and he doesn't realize that he is one of those weird friends, and all of his
Right.
they're all weird friends, but it's like he looks at Jocko like this, like, "Who's that fucking guy?"
He's a
Um,
bit of a weirder friend from Krillin's point of view, anyway, because Krillin's just a martial artist. He's a fucking, galactic patrol elite
yeah,
or whatever he
but
says he is. It doesn't
Krillin's
really
pretty
evoke.
weird. Krillin's weird enough that Jocko thought he was an alien.
He looks weird. I would agree.
Jocko thought he was an alien until Krillin was like, "I'm an Earthling," and he was like, "Oh, okay." Uh,
I certainly agree that he's weird looking, but he's pretty straight laced otherwise. He's got a wife and a kid, and he's a cop. He's got hair. That's important. He's got his hair came back, right? In the saga.
I'm pretty sure it did, yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. He's got a tacos shirt on, which he's been wearing ever since the beginning of this saga. He wears it all the way through the Black Goku stuff too. He wears this shirt that just says tacos on
I don't know
it.
why this just struck me, but when you were just describing Krillin and who he is as a person, you were basically describing John McClane at the beginning of the first Die Hard. Like he's got a wife and he's got a kid and he's a cop. I'm sitting here thinking, wow, I want Die Hard with
And
Krillin.
he's got hair in that one as opposed to the one where he's bald.
I really want Die Hard with Krillin now. I want him to be locked in fucking
Oh, that's such a good idea.
lock him
I
up,
mean, not really, but I would watch. I would
lock
watch an. I would watch that from abridged.
lock him up in fucking Muscle Tower or some shit and have him fight fucking Germans.
In particular. Now I have my Destructo disc. Ho, ho, ho. Uh, but yeah, no, I'm with you on the whole. Episode 28 feels like it's a breath of fresh air thing. It feels like we're moving in an interesting new direction. There's, new characters. There's new things to get excited about. The prospects of characters from other universes that may be spins on characters we're already familiar with. There was a concept of maybe we'll get to see some Saiyans from this universe. That's dropped in the second episode of this arc. The idea of maybe seeing other kinds of, other Saiyans from that
And that
universe.
pays off really well, and we can talk about that
It
more.
pays off great. It's probably the best payoff of all the other universe characters.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes of the arc.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say there.
But yeah, the first one we get is Champa, and what I love about Champa, he's everything we love about Beerus. He's got that weird obsession with food, and I love the fact that they compete over whose universe has the best food. Um, but he's also got this added like, he's a bit more on the malevolent side than I think Beerus is. Really.
He seems like he's got more to prove than Beerus does. Beerus is so self-confident in his godhood. I mean, he's got a temper, but I never for a question doubt Beerus' self-confidence. I absolutely doubt Champa's self-confidence. And you can tell that in the way Toriyama's designed him. I mean, he's overweight, which I think is meant to sort of compensate for that. Vados is constantly giving him shit about his weight. Vados is very...
Vados, too, a lot like Whis, but just a little bit more malevolent than Whis.
Yes, well, she seems to be like crazier. Like she almost seems like Whis if Whis was a sociopath. Like, you know what I mean? Like
it's like a subdued crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like she's super professional, more professional than Whis is, I would say. And Whis is already very professional at being Beerus' attendant, even though he's stronger than he is. And Vados is, if Whis is stronger than Beerus, Vados is stronger than fucking not only Champa and Beerus, not Beerus, but maybe no Beerus probably as well, because Vados is stronger than Whis is, isn't she? Or I never remembered that being said in the show, but I remember you telling me that at one point.
Yeah, there was a moment where they mentioned that she had, at least in the past, had defeated Whis. So, so she is supposedly stronger than Whis is, which makes her the second most the most powerful character that we had met at that point. Because now we've met some. But
she's giving Champa shit for his weight, and I'm like and she's very blunt about the fact of like, look at their body types. Who do you think is stronger between Beerus and Champa? And I'm like, I really liked that moment because that very quickly made the rivalry between them clear, and also why I really liked the ending so much.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't get the impression that they really get to see each other that much. So it could be that if they were,
Beerus doesn't recognize him when he first sees him.
I'm talking about Whis and Vados.
My bad.
Because they're both off. They're both off being attendants to their individual gods. So it could be that if they were to fight again, maybe the tables would have turned by this point, and maybe Whis is a little stronger than her now. But either way, she's definitely stronger than both Beerus and Champa.
It doesn't seem like either of them do much training, though.
No. Well, Whis doesn't have to, man. He's like the fucking ultimate.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that I don't know how much their strength fluctuates if they don't train.
I don't know.
Like, that's what's interesting about Goku and Vegeta's
They're higher
rivalry.
beings. When asked what he was, Whis referred to himself as, "I'm simply the life form known as Whis." And I was like, well,
But
that's
I feel like
enough
Whis
for
is
me.
Tori. Do you feel like Whis is Toriyama's, like, voice in Dragon Ball? Like, he finally has written himself into the show in the form of Whis, where he's just like, I just want to eat and be seen as amazing and
Oh,
not actually
you
have
mean
anybody really acknowledge it.
Toriyama's personality?
Yeah.
Possibly. I think Toriyama's role is more filled by the Omni King, but Toriyama's personality, yeah,
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah.
could very well be.
Unless those other universes are fictional universes that he didn't create, which would be...
Oh, like they go to Universe fucking 2 and like fucking Naruto's there.
That's what I'm... Well, I mean, maybe
There
even just other stuff, you know,
there are
maybe.
there are crossover mangas that would make a lot more sense now. They've never been meant to be canon, but
No, they're not. Yeah, they are very clear about that, or fans are very clear about that. Because I always see like memes that have pictures of them in them, and I'm always like, "Is that a real thing?" And they're always like, "Well, yeah, but it's not canon."
yeah,
I'm like, "Oh,
it's never canon.
not that it matters. Dragon Ball's canon is
Fucked.
like, essentially non-existent." So
Fucked.
you know,
It's fucked.
yeah, he really like. I mean, tell me the Dragon Ball timeline. It's like,
Well, first of all, the earliest thing that happens in the Dragon Ball timeline is
I didn't actually want you to tell me, but okay.
maybe Bardock goes back in time, and then after that,
Right. No, I feel you. Yeah, no, that's true. Maybe no, well maybe it's that the guardian of the planet Vegeta blew up the planet Vegeta. You know, it's fucked, Dylan. It truly is as fucked as you say.
I mean,
Um,
I diagrammed it once, and it's
what? Really?
yeah, man, and
I did. That's insane.
I had to tape 3 pieces of paper together. Of course, they're tiny ass pieces
You're
of paper to begin with,
you're a crazy person. What possessed you to do this?
because there's so many deviations in the timeline, and I just wanted to see it all laid out,
I gotcha.
so that I could
Okay.
be like, wow, what a tangled web we weave. And it's no longer current. I did this forever ago, but whatever.
Oh, okay. When did you do this? When you were young or like recently? Like recent-ish?
No, it was in the very early days of Dragon Ball Super.
Wow, was that we were doing the podcast? I didn't expect that. Okay, damn.
Yes,
Fuck.
but this was a while ago. So
We should go through that on one episode and see like how much of that I kind of understand and can follow
like,
because that would be
because you
interesting.
have to spend a lot of time figuring out like, okay, where exactly does the timeline branch off to where this movie happens and then this movie happens? You know,
Right.
it's
Right.
it's fucked. It's very fucked.
All right. Well, let's go through that on another episode one day. But why don't we get back to my notes? So oh, but Dylan, let me just say this. I really liked the world tournament angle in this. Like that was probably my favorite element. I really
Yes,
missed that.
we haven't seen
We
that in
haven't done
a
that.
long time.
We haven't done that properly in a long time. The beginning
No,
of the Buu saga gets interrupted. The end of the Buu saga gets interrupted. It's it's a constant stream of world tournaments getting interrupted. I mean, the last one that really was uninterrupted was the one where Goku fought Piccolo, correct?
um,
Or was that interrupted? I don't really remember.
no, that's not interrupted.
Okay,
They,
that's what I figured. I was wondering if Goku and Piccolo's fight went off the tournament's ground, as Hit and Goku want to at the end of this.
at the
I didn't remember if that was a thing.
Because at the end of that tournament, Goku has declared the winner. It's the only time he's ever won. Um,
Right. Oh, because Master Roshi won the one he entered as a child, correct?
yes,
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
the one after that, because there were 3 in the original series, if I'm remembering correctly. Because they're at the World Tournament whenever he's a kid, and Krillin gets killed, and then he flies off to fight Piccolo or whatever. Um,
Okay. Right.
I don't know if we ever got to find out who the winner was of that one, or I think Tien actually beat him, and then he found Krillin dead. Because
Oh, I don't remember that. That's fucked.
I know when he beat Piccolo Jr., that was the only time that he's ever technically won the tournament.
Gotcha. Okay, I was unaware of that. I actually okay, gotcha.
Because
My bad. My memories are all fucked on that.
this is back when Tien was the shit. So he they,
Right.
so they fucked.
Gotcha.
But,
Anyway, point being, I really like that element here. It doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, it goes through to the end. It's not interrupted like they usually are, but it doesn't exactly go smoothly or as planned. I guess you would say there are some deviations in the proceedings of the tournament, but it's Dragon Ball, and there should be. That's how story happens.
Right. Well,
There's lots of those, and they're always fun and.
at this point, if they did a tournament without deviation, it would be like, well, we've seen this before because we got this back in
Well,
Dragon Ball.
this is different by principle because it's not the world's martial arts tournament. It's these two universes martial arts tournament. So it's instantly something we've never seen before. I mean, we've never even really seen an intergalactic tournament, right?
No, holy shit, Bill.
Oh no, I guess we have. When Goku fought all those people in Otherworld, that's essentially what that is.
Okay, just hold on a second.
Okay, go ahead. What are you awing over there?
Look what Matt Frank did, that fucking genius, and then we can get back into the podcast. I just found this just now, and
Oh, that is awesome.
that is fucking amazing.
That's pretty cool.
I might have to buy that, unless there was already a thing from him that I wanted to buy. I don't remember. I'll see what he's got, and if he's got this, it'll be a contender.
I don't know if I'm gonna buy any prints this year. I never do anything with them. They always just take space in the car.
I don't either. But the shit thing is we're kind of friends with a couple of those guys now, and so
I know.
And so I'm always like, yeah, I'll buy something off you. Like I'm definitely buying John Bellatti's Terror of Mechagodzilla poster because that thing is the shit. But
I probably will when we actually get there. I mean, I always usually do, but I'm not gonna buy as many this year.
He's working on a King Kong versus Godzilla one, but it's not gonna be done.
Fuck.
But it's not gonna be done in time for G-Fest. I asked him, so you might be able to pick that one up next year.
Oh, okay. That one I'll definitely buy.
Because
I like that too.
Because I saw his 62 Godzilla on Facebook, because I'm friends with him, and it was pretty awesome.
Right. All right. Well, I'll cut that out.
Yeah,
but,
you do that.
Yeah, I certainly will. But anyway, let's get back into Dragon Ball Super, shall we?
Right.
So, Dylan, the next thing I wrote down was simply Vegeta is the best character. Would you agree?
Yeah, I love that he got to shine in this saga.
He got to shine a lot.
I've given up on him actually getting to beat a big bad or whatever, but at least he got.
No, I think it's coming. I think it's gonna happen.
Well, that's debatable.
We'll talk about it. I have a theory.
We will. Not on recording because that's not what this video is about. But
no, this isn't about that. We'll save that for later.
You can tell the audience at home knows what we really want to be talking about, but since we're behind, we gotta.
My bad.
Anyway,
well, I mean that stuff's not. We can't do a podcast on that yet anyway because it's not finished yet, so it's fine.
No.
This is all we can talk about right now anyway. So don't give me shit for taking so long to watch it.
You know what we should have done? We should have made this a regular segment on this show and just like talked about each episode like week to week.
Well, no, I mean we will have that presumably once we're doing it week to week, and if Dragon Ball Super is still airing at that time, I assume that's what we'll do because that would just make sense, right?
Anyway, what was I talking about?
We'll see what happens. Vegeta is the best character, was what I said.
He gets to carry the majority of this tournament. Because Goku gets taken out on some bullshit, and then he has to come in and just...
Some interesting bullshit, or interesting in-the-moment bullshit that made me kind of second-guess myself.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that now, or so? No, let's save that, because I have an entire segment about Frost, so we should probably save that for that part of it.
We should go through all the reveals and shit pretty in order.
I put this in chronological order, so that's pretty much what we'll do.
Yeah.
But I may have missed a few of them, so obviously you can bring those up as we go.
So where are we at in your notes?
Well, we're at Vegeta is the best character, so I just wanted to say the reason why. He is, I think he's more likable than Goku at this point, because in this show in particular, Goku is written as so headstrong and so impulsive, and maybe that's just the Japanese version that we're watching, probably.
It's always been that way in Japan. It's just, it hasn't been that way in America because of, like, dub changes and shit. Like,
and I get that,
we are so used to the Funimation version of Goku.
The well-rounded, like, mature-sounding superhero version, right, as opposed to this... this man-child version. That's essentially the version from Abridged, but a bit more competent. A bit.
We're used to,
and that's debatable.
We're used to Goku #1 under the sun. We're not used to this Fuck
We're not
that.
used to wife beating Goku. You know, no, I guess we are used to
You're
that. That
used to
happens.
that,
In
yeah. You put her through a fucking wall. It was great.
Put her through several. You know what? So when I gave Batman versus Superman shit for Superman putting that guy through that wall, I probably should have gone. Well, Goku did it, so I guess it's fine. I guess that's their standard.
True, true, true. I've heard that the ultimate cut of that movie is better. Um,
I watched it. I guess.
in that it doesn't
It's
make
still 3 hours long.
in that from what I understand, it doesn't make the movie itself any better, but it adds some much needed
It makes more
context.
sense. It makes more sense. Yeah.
Some much needed context to certain
I get
events.
what it's getting at now. Yeah, and
I've
and that is certainly interesting, but I don't like it.
I haven't watched it yet because I'm gonna wait for the fucking Blu-ray. But
Fair enough. I can.
um,
No, we'll talk about that later. I was about to reveal some shit now. Nah. I'm kidding, Dylan. You have to buy it. You're right. You should wait for the Blu-ray. I rented it on YouTube. Oh no, you can't. Shit. Anyway,
Your
so
lie
what I
has
was
folded in on itself. You
what I was
fucking
getting
shady
at.
ass bootlegs. Fucking you fucking
I
Hillary
bought
Clinton
it in
now
the
with
city.
emails.
I certainly spent money on it,
Oh. Oh.
unlike Hillary Clinton.
Oh yeah, then like Hillary Clinton.
So Dylan, Vegeta is the best character, and the reason why I wrote that down was because I think he's more morally responsible than Goku is. Like, the first thing that he always thinks about before he does anything is, all right, what's like the responsible thing to do here? Like, in every instance when they're in danger, like when the World Martial Arts Tournament is first brought up, he's like, this might get nasty. Should
Yeah.
we do this? Is this a good idea? And when Bulma gets brought into it, because I believe I don't know if he or Goku actually. I just rewatched this too, so I feel like I should remember. But I don't know if either he or Goku brings it up. But they're like, Bulma can build a super Dragon Radar to find the super Dragon
I
Balls,
love
and
how
we'll have
they
to get
just
to that at some
I
point.
love how they just assume that Bulma can do that thing.
Right, and that's paid off on. They pay off on that. But I really like in the moment. I really like in the moment when Vegeta goes, "This might get nasty. Maybe I shouldn't drag my family into this." But that shows that he's really changed as a character. That he gives a shit now as for he gives a shit about being seen as a responsible father and somebody who people can look up to and as a bit of a role model. And that gets paid off really well in this when, and we'll talk about it more later, when he trains. Is it Kaba or Kabe or what's the name of the Universe 6 Saiyan?
Pretty sure it's Kaba. Or
Kaba. Um,
yeah, I think it was Kaba.
I saw it spelt as Kabe in the bad subtitle version I watched though, so that's why I had to ask that. But that gets brought into it later as well, so we'll talk
Who
about it when
knows
we
what
talk about
who knows what he'll be called in the English version? He could be called fucking George. I don't know.
it.
Um,
Right. Hopefully. That's what I'm hoping for. We should do a write-in campaign. We should write actual handwritten letters to make sure he's called George.
yeah, George.
Dylan, the next thing I wrote was that the sixth universe fighters are unique and interesting. Glad that they aren't all they okay. Glad they aren't. All right, let's start there. The Universe 6 fighters are unique and interesting. Would you agree?
Hell yeah.
They're
Especially
great. They're all really interesting.
especially with regards to Hit, which is my jam, and
I knew you were gonna like Hit. I've got a whole thing about him in a couple
fucking
minutes.
love Hit. He was my Skype profile picture before it was Teen Wolf. But
I forgot about that. You're right. Yeah, you changed that when we had our like 2 hour conversation about Teen Wolf that one time,
yeah, and then I was like, shit, I want to watch Teen Wolf, and then the next day I did.
and then we had another 2 hour conversation about Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf 2.
Yes, yes, yes. Everybody, go watch Teen Wolf, but if you haven't already. But
No. He's the one who's lying now.
Phil hasn't seen it in forever. You'll love it.
We'll see what happens. We're gonna do it through the shot glass on it at one point. But anyway.
Fucking crazy as hell. Anyway, what was I
So
talking?
Dylan, who's your favorite of the 6 universe fighters?
Definitely Hit. But what I was saying a minute ago, you were
Who's the least favorite?
what I was gonna say a minute ago.
Sorry.
I was gonna say a minute ago when we were talking about how interesting they are, especially three of them, Hit, Magetta, and fucking Botamo, because those are just the most unique ones out of the bunch. Because the other two on the team are just versions of what we've seen before.
I hear you. I do think the first guy is like the dumbest one, like because he's basically like a mix of
Botamo, yeah. I mean, he's Winnie the
uh,
Pooh if he was my.
yeah, he's Winnie the Pooh mixed with that fight. I mean, who he reminded me? He reminded me of that guy from World's Strongest.
He's fucking Majin the Boo or Majin the Pooh. But
Majin the Pooh. No, but do you remember that big fat guy from World's Strongest, the big yellow one with the red shirt? He looked just like him.
yeah, he was similar.
But instead of being all spongy, he was real hard. He was like real solid. Like you couldn't knock him over.
Oh my. And he
Dylan smirked, and I was like, "Great, now we're gonna have to run with that joke for a few minutes." But anyway,
was was I talking about? Hmm.
well, we were talking about which fighters you found the most unique and interesting. Botamo was the robot, right? Or no, Botamo was the fat guy.
Otamo is Winnie the Pooh, and
Winnie the Pooh, right?
uh,
Majin the Pooh.
whatever you want to call him, Majin Pooh.
I like Majin the Pooh because it has the word Majin in it.
Mm, mm,
Mm.
mm.
What was the name of the robot though?
That's Magetta,
Magetta.
and he's
Okay.
not a robot.
Right. No, that's the point of contention because
Cybernetic
early
life
on,
form. No, I'm kidding. He's
well, in a way, he's a metal man, as they say. He's a organism made of metal, presumably.
yes.
Uh,
He doesn't have circuitry and shit. I don't know how.
he's like a transformer. He's a transformer.
I don't know. Well, they have circuitry and shit. Technically, they are robots. They're just sentient robots.
They're robots in disguise, Dylan.
Sentient robots in disguise, whose origins are kind of but
All over the place. How do they reproduce? Sometimes they fuck. Usually they don't.
but Magetta,
He, on the other hand, he's got lava saliva, which was pretty cool.
yeah. It's not really. I don't know how the fuck he's supposed to work, but he's an actual organism.
It's Toriyama. I didn't question it. I just sat back and enjoyed.
But I freaking love him. He's great. That fight between him and Vegeta,
No, it's awesome.
that 3-part epic brawl. Uh, Originally, Frost had the potential to be really, really great. He had the potential to be possibly my favorite, and they just shat that right down the
He
toilet.
could have won, and it would have been really interesting.
He,
Well, I don't know if they shat it down the toilet. I didn't hate it,
he could have been a
but
contender. No, they
he could have been. He genuinely could have been not only a contender for the tournament, but a contender for being a better character than Kaba and having a better story and having a better couple of matches than Kaba because he had a really interesting
like I like him.
initial fight with Goku. It was crazy interesting.
I like him. I like his design. It's sort of a bit more streamlined than Frieza, a bit more. There's a bit of simplicity going on with it. They basically took Frieza's design and sort of, like I just said, streamlined it a little bit. That was nice.
All the Universe 6 fighters had smoother, simpler lines than the Universe 7 fighters did, and I think that was an interesting distinction that they made. And it was also like a nice, like in-story excuse for Toriyama to make some simpler character designs, because like Kaba is like a simplified, skinnier version of that first version of Vegeta that we saw in early Dragon Ball Z,
Also,
the one with the fucked up colors.
I think it's also because Toriyama's art style has evolved over the years.
That too, yeah. It looks Dragon Ball Super looks very different than anything from those days as well.
And because Goku and all of them, they kind of have to look the way they look because they've always looked that way. But whenever he introduces a new character, it's always a bit more slimmed down like that. You had Tarbell's wife in Son Goku and his friends return. You have Jocko, which he came up with later, like after DBZ, sort of in the years in between that and this. Jocko is a much more simplified design than what we used to get back in the day. And then you have all these Universe 6 people. It's with the exception of like Beerus and Whis, he definitely does seem to lean more towards those sort of simplified designs now.
I would agree. Beerus and Whis are definitely more in line with traditional Dragon Ball Z character designs.
Even the new Frieza soldiers that we were introduced to, their armor was a bit more simplistic and streamlined with Tagoma and Shisame and Sorbet.
And I think Golden Frieza has just as much detail in the design and has just as many lines as the other transformations that Frieza's had.
Right.
I think
But
we're more.
that's just done, I think, to be consistent, honestly.
But I think what has been an in-story reason for that change in Dragon Ball Super in particular, not speaking to the other stuff that he's done outside of this, but we're getting way more cosmic with this show now than we ever had before. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted it to do in the first place. And it has kind of slowly progressed to that. Like, despite us talking about how this show could have started with the beginning of this saga and dropped everything else, again, it certainly could have. But there does definitely feel like there's been a build, but that build could have been through the movies,
Well,
so
it seems like Toriyama.
But just this show in particular has also kind of had a build in terms of we introduced gods. Now we're going back to deep space politics, and now this is a mix of both those things with deep space politics mixed with interdimensional cosmic theology, which I thought was really
It seems
cool.
like Toriyama goes through these waves where like his stories reflect his different interests. Because sometimes you get like
Oh, definitely, especially with classic DBZ. Yeah.
sometimes you get like really mystical shit, like what Dragon Ball was in the beginning, and what we kind of had a little bit more with when we got into like the Buu Saga, and suddenly we had fucking space wizards and shit. So there's times when he's all mystical, and there's other times when he's all like spacey. We got that with Namek, and we got it again with Universe 6 and with Resurrection F a bit. And then there's other times when he goes like really science fictiony. The man's obsessed with time travel, I've discovered. Um,
Yeah, because right now he seems to be on a science fiction kick. If that future Trunks saga is any indication, like,
Yeah, like it's gonna be a mix.
not to get not.
Everything in DB's in Dragon Ball is a mix. It's gonna be a mix because we know there's this like weird green Kai that we still don't know what his deal is. So it's like a bit of a combination of like the mystical and the science fictiony shit. But those seem to be, from what I've noticed, like his three big wheelhouses that he sort of works in and blends in the series. It's like mystical shit, science fictiony shit, and like space shit, and it's all just thrown in together, and that's what I love
And
about the show.
food, and all given the names of food.
Lots and lots of food. The other
And there's a lot of that in Dragon Ball Super. A lot of Dragon Ball Super is, oh, let's eat, and I love that
the
because I
show
sympathize.
the show revolves around food, so it's a reflection of my life, really. And
Yeah, absolutely, certainly.
yes, if
Food and working out, no,
only
not so
Goku
much of that.
if only Goku did some drinking, then it would really be an
Yeah,
act.
there isn't really a hardcore alcoholic character in the DBZ cast, which I'm certainly sad about. I feel like I'm missing some representation there.
There should be.
A hard drinking fighter. Well, there was that android in Super Android 13, but he died, so I guess he
Right,
doesn't
right,
really
right. Oh
count.
yeah, he had the flask and shit. Also, he was never canon, but he was.
That too. That was always a problem.
There was that time that Master Roshi had the beer, and then American censors changed it to foaming water.
Now it's OJ. Now it's Nappa.
That was great. But yeah, they changed it to water, and I was just supposed to buy that he was like taking an Alka Seltzer at that time, I guess.
Right?
But anyway,
Yeah.
I
So
digress.
my
What were we
so my,
talking
my
about?
sec my second part of that note was I was glad that they weren't all arbitrarily made god level powerful to compete with Goku and Vegeta. Their strengths are in their individuality.
Yeah, I was a little
Their
pleased with
their
that as
in,
well.
their individual abilities are what give them the edge in their fights and their mastery over their individual abilities and over their individual fighting styles
Mm.
that give them the edge over Goku, Vegeta, and pretty much that's it in terms of from Universe 7 that really gets to do much of anything. Like Piccolo does get, I should have wrote this down in my notes. Piccolo gets a great fight with Frost,
Yeah, that was
but
a good episode.
he doesn't win anything.
No,
No, he did win that, didn't he? No, he
no, he
didn't.
didn't. He got taken out of the fight by the same bullshit that Goku got taken out by, and then Vegeta had to come in, and that was when Vegeta got his glory, got to take out three out of the five team members. Um,
Correct.
but
Um,
what you're talking about each of the characters having their own individual strengths and shit, it reminds me of the way the very first tournament back in Dragon Ball played out, where a lot of it was just like not even dependent upon like I am stronger than you, haha. A lot of it was like yeah, interesting stuff like that. Like there's this whole thing in the first tournament where Krillin is fighting a character whose power is Stink Fu, and he's just like the smelliest man on the planet, and like Krillin's losing the fight until Goku reminds him that he doesn't have a nose, like that shit. Or like
oh my god, I forgot about that. See, I've been rereading I was at one time. My goal was like reread the original Dragon Ball mangas, and I never got through the first 3 volumes, so I have to go
uh,
back to that.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I got to the beginning of the World Tournament, and then I kind of put it down for a while, so I have to get back to that. Now I'm on a kick, so it makes sense because
There's
I just
also
binge watched all this.
there's also this pterodactyl looking guy who like spits out this like goop that he like traps Goku in. Like it's a bunch of like weird characters with neat powers like that.
And
They did a similar thing when he had to fight all those monsters to get Baba to tell him where the last Dragon Ball was later on.
yes, this was very reminiscent of that in terms of all Goku and Vegeta want to do is test their strength. That's all any of these people want to do, is test their strength and get pushed to their limits. That's all any of them want, seemingly. And they're seemingly willing to do that in the face of these gods who will destroy them if they don't do what they want. And that's kind of the big point of contention at the end, is that they are all fighters fighting because they want to fight, most of them anyway. Champa's fighters seem to be in it for a bit more of selfish reasons, because they're under threat of being destroyed, and also they have all that treasure that they can get.
Well,
But
Manaka's in there in on Champa's thing because he's being paid.
he's different though.
I mean Beerus's team because he's being paid, but everybody else on Beerus's team, Beerus just lucked up in that he has a bunch of crazy people that he's friends with,
Right, exactly.
who are also really strong.
Well, it feels like Piccolo kind of gets like talked into it. Like Goku almost doesn't give him a choice, where he's just like, "Listen, Piccolo, just do it. It doesn't actually matter. Like you're not actually gonna get to do anything. Like it's gonna be pretty much me and Vegeta." And he's like, "All right, I'll go chill." It's pretty much what Piccolo says,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much how it goes. And I mean, I enjoyed like the way that was
feel,
played up, and I did like what Piccolo did. That fight with Frost was great, but
what did you
even
feel
still,
about Majin Buu?
that was a great scene, and it absolutely confirmed that he and Mr. Satan are gay,
Oh
because
yeah,
there's this
they're totally
really ambiguous moment where Boo just gives him something, or no, because he doesn't go to the fight because he wants to stay with Satan, right? Or what was the reason that Boo didn't want to fight? I don't remember.
He chooses to enter the tournament so that he can use the Super Dragon Wish for Hercule, or give the wish to Hercule, and
Right.
that like really touches Hercule, and they like hug, and like they're
Hercule leaps onto Boo's lap,
they're
and they look at each other with almost like tears in their eyes, and Satan is like, "You really mean that, Boo?" And they just stare at each other for a while.
yeah
Everybody looks
they're
mad awkward.
they're clearly life partners at this point, which is
That's
fine.
fine.
Korin
That's awesome. I love that.
Korin and Yajirobe are, so why not?
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Uh,
They'll probably do that when a bridge gets to it. I hope.
yeah.
I do not want to see any of them in the bedroom, though. Just leave that behind closed
I
doors,
mean,
please.
Trunks is in a relationship with a woman who's technically older than his mom, so strange shit happens in DBZ.
Who's in the body of a child who may or may not be younger than him.
Right.
It's all, who knows, man? It's Japan. It's weird. Who cares?
Man.
But again, just back to the primary point. I just thought that all the fighters were interesting and compelling for their own individual reasons, and each of them played off each other well. But Dylan, what did you think of the component of like? And I guess we can talk about this more later, but
more so what I was getting to with that question.
oh, sorry, yeah,
Feel about
we kind of dropped what we were saying before. Go ahead.
Did you think it was wasted potential that they had Majin Buu sleep out the tournament?
No, I didn't want to see him fight. Because the Japanese voice for Boo is insanely annoying. It's way deeper than like you would expect. Like you would expect Majin Buu to have a crazy deep voice, or a crazy high pitched voice, but no.
But how cool would it have been like if Boo had gone in first and actually lost to Botamo, and then Goku has to go in there and fight this fucking teddy bear looking motherfucker, like having just witnessed how easily he took down Boo. Like that would be crazy cool, I think, because
But that's what happened with Beerus, though. That would have been a repeat of that.
Oh, they don't care about repeating.
No, true. But that's just why I didn't really bother me that Boo slept it out. I didn't have to hear his annoying voice actor that much, pretty much at the beginning and at the end.
It always annoyed me in GT that you have Majin Buu, who was like the biggest, most powerful bad guy that they ever had to fight back in Z. And what does he fucking do after he stays behind on Earth with Hercule? He never gets to do. I mean, in GT he got to fuse with Oob at a point. Ooh, that's all he gets to do. And I'm like,
that was pretty cool though, not gonna lie.
And it's like DBZ has a history of like taking characters who used to be the bad guys and making them like awesome parts of the team. Tien did it for a while before he became irrelevant. Piccolo and Vegeta still managed to be relevant, but you're not gonna do that with Boo. What a waste.
Well, Boo's for a reason though. It's Fat Boo. Fat Boo just wants to relax and chill with Mr. Satan and smoke weed. That's a life I can get behind. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's.
I think you're projecting a little bit on that last one, but yeah, I get what you mean.
I really like that Boo isn't into fighting as much as everybody else is. Like, you know, Piccolo's not crazy about it like Vegeta and Goku are either. But you're right, Piccolo is still kept in there. He's still serious about the fighting. Boo just cares about himself and Mr. Satan and that dog. That's it.
Well, Piccolo
Uh,
uses training mostly, I think, for self-improvement reasons, and also because he is an Earth protector, and I think he takes that pretty seriously. I mean,
he
if
does.
if Goku's off, training with
Because
Beerus,
he's got Kami in him now, so I mean that makes more. That he became that way after Kami. I mean he was already pretty protective, but almost exclusively of Gohan. So
just think,
after he fused with Kami, he became a lot more concerned about the whole entire Earth and the whole entire universe.
just think how useful it is having Piccolo like there on Earth. Like if Goku's off, like fucking around on Beerus's planet, and then some alien shows up to Earth who's like Frieza level power, Piccolo can handle that, no problem. Uh,
And he'd love to. He'd love to be relevant again.
yes, he would. Yes, he would. So that he could
Uh,
tell his one my space friend all about it.
you can tell he and Tom can have a long I am about it. They can hop on AIM, where it's easier to send messages back and forth quickly and
Right.
have a long chat.
Yes.
Uh, so Dylan, let's get into my next note then, shall we? Frost starts out insanely interesting and peters out towards the end. Still fun,
Yes.
but way less interesting.
Yes.
So let's talk about what Frost was initially.
Oh
So
well,
Frost,
we skipped Botamo. Uh,
I mean, I said everything I wanted to say about him.
well, the interesting thing about him that I don't think I made clear is his ability that you literally can't hurt him, no matter what you do. Like, at least as far as physical attacks, it seems one of the gods of destruction could probably blow him away if they wanted to. But in terms of like fighting just about anyone else, he can't lose because his ability is just like they punch him and nothing happens. Like that's the whole thing. And so it was really interesting, and having to see Goku think on his feet and outsmart him, that was really neat. That's all I really wanted to say about fucking Winnie the Boo. But
No, I just like to see Goku have to be smart about a fight rather than just being, let's just keep testing our limits until we're satisfied with the fight. And I want to see everything you have. It was this guy has an unstoppable weakness. I know how to exploit it.
now
I
could
should do that to win, otherwise I'm going to lose.
could Goku have beaten him? Maybe if he had like gone Super Saiyan Blue, maybe that would have been too much for his ability to handle. It's possible, but the good thing about this story is that a lot of times in Super, it's really annoying that Goku and Vegeta don't just whip out Super Saiyan Blue like at the beginning and take out the bad guy. The good thing about the Universe 6 arc setup is that they're in a tournament setting and they want to sort of hold back because they want to last longer throughout the tournament.
Exactly, and if they go Super Saiyan Blue, that kills a lot of their ki really early on, and that
So they
wears them
have
out.
So they have a really good excuse not to use Super Saiyan Blue in the tournament, and I like that because in any other arc, it's a problem. And I mean,
Right.
it's excused away by the fact that by like Goku's personality, and he likes to test what his enemy is capable of before he whips out his full power, and that's fine or
Which
whatever.
is brought just as much to the floor as it has been before. And I mean, it makes a lot more sense in this tournament setting than it does in when he's fighting somebody who says they're gonna blow up the entire universe and he just wants to test their limits.
Right, 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 right.
That it's a little more excusable in that instance, and we get a lot of that in this,
Yeah.
and we get that from all the other characters as well. In terms of, I just want to see you at your best. That's all I care about. I just care about your best. I mean, a lot of them are also in it for selfish reasons, but at the end of the day, because of the kind of character that Goku is, it all kind of gets brought out of them as it gets brought up by
But that's all I really wanted to say
by
about
old
both.
Kai.
That's all I wanted to say about Botama is that he has a really interesting ability. I love Dragon Ball characters that have like really interesting abilities where even though they're maybe not the strongest, they can beat almost anybody because like they have this crazy ability. It's great. It's great.
Definitely.
He's the most powerful character of that ilk since fucking Monster Carrot back in Dragon Ball, who was a character who could turn you into a carrot just by touching you.
And I love that, and I love stuff like that because it's different than what DBZ turned into at the end, where it was just strong strength, the strongest, whoever is the most powerful fighter in the universe is the next threat, and you have to make these people stronger and stronger to make them a threat for Goku and Vegeta. And I mean, everybody's got to be pretty powerful in this to contend with them, but they all have individual, strengths, like we said before, that make them stand out. So I really enjoyed that element of this arc as well. But let's get into somebody who also had a bit of that with Frost. So, Dylan, what did you think of the Universe 6 version of Frieza?
Um, at first, I still liked the character, but I just wish that they hadn't gone the direction they had. At first,
What do they set him up as? Because he's introduced early on as, well,
they
because Goku,
they set
Goku and
him
Vegeta
up
see him and they're
as
like, holy shit, it's Frieza.
they set him up as good Frieza. they set him up as, oh shit, the Universe 6 version of Frieza is actually like a super nice guy, and he like travels around the universe helping people, and like he's not an evil planetary warlord, he's a force for good. And it's interesting because Goku and Vegeta are a little racist at first. They're like, oh shit, it's their version of Frieza.
That's what I was gonna bring up. Was like, did you think it was weird that Goku and Vegeta were like, there can't be a good version of Frieza
Well, yeah,
in any universe, and they turn out to be right?
yeah,
How fucked up is that?
that's the super fucked up thing about this show's message. The stereotype turns out to be true. Frost is not a good guy. The only reason he goes around helping people is that he like sets up crises ahead of time so that he can then go in and solve them and like get all types of fame and glory and shit. Plus, he like has some real estate deals. He's like the Gene Hackman of this universe, and
He's
it's
the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor Frieza as opposed to like the Universe 7 Frieza who is more like the comic book version.
yes, more of a Zod really. He just. But anyway, it was so interesting at first because it's like, oh, it's a good version of Frieza. And on the one hand, that was kind of like, oh, are they just gonna do, versions of characters from our universe, but like,
Yeah, I didn't want to see all of that. I wanted to see some new people.
right, like I was a little concerned before we went into the tournament, thinking, oh, they're just gonna take they're gonna make a bunch of versions of characters from our universe, and
That's what I thought
all they're
too.
gonna do is
Especially because Hit looked like Cell.
reverse the polarity of the neutron flow and make all the good guys bad and all the bad guys good, and it's going to be super cheesy. They didn't do that. There are only two characters that you can that really do that, and Frost turns out to be a lie. Um,
But I thought his lie was crazy interesting though. Like the moment that really made the ultimate reveal of him just being a shady land dealer guy, uh, really kind of disappointing, and why we're bringing it up being kind of a shit turn, is that there was that great moment during his and Goku's fight where he's like, "Oh, I can't let the children of my universe down. I have to push on. I have to prevail."
yeah,
And Goku knows that he can kick that guy's ass. And it's kind of like a flip on when he originally fought Goku, or when Frieza originally fought Goku in the, the original Dragon Ball Z series. In terms of Goku knows that Frieza is kind of stronger than he is, but he keeps going, and that's what eventually leads to the Super Saiyan transformation. It was also like seeing that flipped on its head, so that was really
it
cool.
was interesting. It almost made you feel like Goku in a way was the bad guy in that fight.
That's exactly what they did for a reason, and I liked that. I've been kind of waiting to see that. Toriyama's been sort of teasing us with that notion for a bit, like having a morally ambiguous, like a really brought up, morally ambiguous Goku. I thought we were going to get to that like soon, but no, not really. Anyway, we'll talk about that on another podcast someday. But
Talk about why that bothers you and how I thought it would bother me, but not really. Um,
it doesn't bother me so much now, but I wish I kind of wish that we're gonna get a real version of that at some point, and he's been teasing us with it. So I want to see a real version of that at some point, and we got a version of it here, and it was good because you've got Bulma and Chi Chi and everybody kind of for a second being like, "Oh no, come on, Frost, hang in there," and
yeah, I
Goku's
love
like,
that. I love that they were.
what the fuck, man?
I love that they
Frieza
were.
might. I mean, Beerus. I'm sorry. I'm getting the names mixed up. I'm tired. Beerus might blow up our planet if I lose. Like, bear that in mind. So
Yeah, I love that they were cheering for Frost at one point. That was that was great.
that was awesome. I loved that, and that's what made the reveal that he wasn't evil so disappointing to me. And it sounds like for you as well. And there was also, and this is what I brought up earlier in terms of, um, second guessing myself with this turn, was that it kind of looked like Goku lost on purpose.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure what was going on when he fainted.
Me neither. That was weird.
My thought at the time was that this was my theory, and I got proven way fucking wrong. My theory was that Frost had used some sort of a technique on him. I thought he had some sort of a way that he like sapped him of his ki and just made him faint or whatever. Um,
I mean, that's kind of what it was, though.
no, but it wasn't a technique. It was a fucking.
No, it
Okay.
was a natural. It was a natural thing that he had.
I mean, we'll just no. It wasn't actually a part of his biology. It was he had it installed later.
Oh, I didn't understand that point. See, that was the subtitles on mine then,
Okay, so
because it
see,
seemed
here's what
like
happened. Here's what
because
happened.
what he said was like, oh no, there are natural parts of my body, but I thought that there's the poison was what was injected. Like he had two little needles on his arms, but like
Yeah.
they put the
Okay.
poison in
So here's
after.
what happened. Here's what happened. He takes down Goku and Piccolo, and Jocko notices the needles on his arms. They try to disqualify him outright because you're not allowed to have weapons in the tournament. He tries to tell them that it's actually a part of his anatomy. but they don't buy that shit. He's lying essentially. He's trying.
Gotcha.
Basically he had those needles implanted, so that he could use them in a fight. But he tries to tell them that it's a part of his own original anatomy. They don't buy that shit. They do disqualify him, but then Vegeta's like, no, let him fight, and then he gets in the ring.
I love that moment too, where he's like, nah. And Vegeta's like, I want to put him in his place. And that's the moment where you know Vegeta's like, if I'm gonna have to be on the side of the good guys, I want them to see me as like the ultimate badass good guy. And he did that on purpose because Trunks was like, oh my god, Dad's so cool. And Bulma's like, he's trying to be cool. And Bulma knew that might get Vegeta in trouble, and it kinda did. So I really liked that
Oh,
element of it as well.
other thing I loved that we got to see the third form make a comeback. The fucking third form of Frieza species. It's been a long time. It's been well missed. I love it. Uh,
And I also loved how Goku was like, "Stop BSing with me. I know your kind has multiple forms. Just get to the final one already, so we can go." And he actually like lets Frost lie for a couple of punches, where he's like, where he gets to the third form and he's like, "Oh, this is my final form. This is my assault form." And Goku's like, "Aight." And I did like how they sort of altered the reasoning behind Frost's different forms for his version of the species in Universe 6
yeah,
as
they
opposed to
didn't call
Frieza's
it.
version.
Yeah, they didn't call it like first form, second form, third form, final form. They called it like he had like his final form, and he had like the form that he walked around in, and then the third form is called assault form, and that's like the one he fights
Right,
in.
and it's exactly, and it's given the reason of in that version of the universe, what's initially explained is that Frost species is like intergalactic defenders. They're they're hired to go fight bad people, just like the Saiyans in that universe.
Yeah,
They're kind of like the Green Lantern Corps of that universe. I've heard them
it
described, and
almost
that's pretty accurate.
it almost comes off as like DBZ Universe Six's version of like Ultraman. uh,
A bit, and Jocko kind of looks like Ultraman, so
uh,
they're completely unconnected, but even
completely,
still.
completely. But
What
yeah,
did you notice that though? Jocko kind of does look like Ultraman.
it's just the eyes. It's just
Just the eyes.
yeah.
It's not
Nothing.
the smooth skin,
He's an alien though. That's just stereotypical alien. He
but
pretty
they're
much
similar.
he pretty much just looks like a gray, but he's got Ultraman.
So does Ultraman though,
No, he doesn't. He's got
a bit.
he's got the fucking fin, and he's got the red parts of his body that were originally supposed to be musculature, but they couldn't pull that
Take
off.
take those off. Take those off. He just looks like a gray.
You can't take those off. The red is supposed to be
You you could take that off the suit if you wanted to. You could spray paint it.
okay. So you're saying if you just had a plain silver Ultraman, but he would still have the fucking gem in his chest and the fin, and he would be a well proportioned Japanese man as opposed to a fucking tiny ass guy with a big head.
A well proportioned Japanese man. He's in pretty good shape. Isn't that guy gonna be at G
He
Fest this
is.
year?
I can't wait to meet that man, Ben
The
Furuya.
guy who was in the suit, right? Not the guy who played oh shit, what's his name? Hayata.
Ben Furuya is the guy who was in the suit.
Right, gotcha. That's awesome. So he is a well proportioned Japanese man, as you'll be able to figure out in person at G Fest.
Oh yeah.
Right.
He also the chick from Ultraman is going to be there too.
She wasn't in the suit, presumably.
No, no, the fucking the token female who female. Anyway, Hiroku Sakurai, that's her name. Hiroko Sakurai. My apologies, Japan. But what
Anyway,
were we talking?
so
Oh yeah,
we were talking
Frost.
about Frost. So there's not really much else to say. I thought that the sequence where he ran outside of the tournament arena because his kind can breathe in space. Remember, he runs to the Universe 6 cube to try and steal it and all the treasure inside of it because he's fucking money crazy. You remember?
Yeah, that was great. And
Uh,
then we get that great moment where Hit takes him down. Because whenever you have a badass character in an anime, there's always a scene where you just get to see them be a badass, like before they go up against your main character. Like it's always there's some other ancillary character, and you get to see them take them down in like the most like the easiest way possible. And then
Cell blew up that army in
yeah,
the
yeah,
Cell
yeah,
Saga.
yeah. You had that. I can think of an example from fucking Naruto, which I used to follow back in the early days. There's a character in that show whose name I forget, but at the time he was like my fucking favorite, who like controls sand. Anyway, his first appearance, he like kills three dudes like that. Like it's a common thing, and it's something that I enjoy. But But yeah,
Definitely.
Hit has a similar moment where he gets to take down Frost, and that's where we learn that Hit has actually been promised the cube.
Right. I just thought that scene was drawn out for no reason. Like Vados like tails at one point, and then she's like, "Oh, I don't have to," and I'm just like, "This didn't have to be this long." I'm kind of done with this character. Like he's just another different. He's a slightly different Frieza, and I'm
Yeah,
kind of done with that because
but
we just had Frieza as a villain in the last arc. So
it
can
isn't
we just
about.
move on with new shit?
But it isn't the thing. It's not about that character though. It's about fucking Hit and like getting a taste of
I
what he's
know,
capable of, because he's
I know.
the big thing that Goku has to overcome at the end of the tournament, and so we get a little taste. Um,
Yeah, and I thought that was cool. I just thought it was too long. I just thought the sequence was dragged out.
and it was great because he takes him down so easily, and you're like, how the fuck did he do that? And then when you find out what his power is, you're like, oh, that's how the fuck he did that.
Yeah, I like how long it takes for the reveal of what he's doing to be revealed. Like, it takes a while for you to realize that he's stopping time and restarting it. But we'll get to Hit. I have a whole thing on him.
Yeah.
But Dylan, what'd you think of Kabe? I wrote down Kabe is great, and the
Ah,
fight with Vegeta is reminiscent of Oob.
I think we skipped a very major scene, Bill,
Did we?
because we started talking about all of the fighters from Universe 6, and we totally skipped the greatest scene in the entire saga, which is, of course, when Goku meets the Galactic King and unintentionally gives him the old reach around.
That happens at the end.
No, it wasn't. It was when they first met on the planet, I
No,
thought.
no. Towards the end, after the fight is over, the Galactic King says that the next time you guys have the all the universes fighting in one tournament, invite me again because this was a great fight.
Oh,
So
yeah, and
thank
then
you
he
for
shakes
that.
his tentacle and he
He
finds
shakes
out
his
that's
hand
his
and
penis. Yeah. Uh,
yeah. I
oh,
remember, Dylan. I put it on my Snapchat story.
that's right. That's right. Okay, you watched it more recent. I could have swore that was on Earth before they actually left.
Well,
What
when they
was
met
on
in
Earth,
that
what was on Earth before they actually left, was Goku and Vegeta with full beards, and that was an amazing moment.
Oh yeah, that was awesome when they come back for training together for like 3 years straight.
And they've just got the like mustaches and beards, and it's great. And
Mustache.
mustache. I kind of wish they had kept them. At least Vegeta, he looks great with a mustache.
He does. He looks
Best
just like your old dad.
best thing in GT.
Absolutely, bar none.
Well,
Uh, but yeah, absolutely. The scene with Goku and Vegeta having beards is truly the best moment in the entire saga. We were fools to skip it.
right. DBZ,
Uh,
Goku and Piccolo drive cars. Super has Goku and Vegeta have beards. That's
but it also has the penis moment, so I don't know which one's better. I think they're both. I put the penis one on my Snapchat story, so I think that that's certainly an indication of which one I'm more partial to.
right. You are definitely partial to the penis.
Certainly.
I wonder how they're gonna. I wonder how they're gonna dub that.
I don't know. They'll probably say wee wee or something, or that's my private parts or my bathing suit area. I don't know.
Of course, nowadays they might just air that on Adult Swim, and then they could totally just say whatever the fuck.
Aren't they? Isn't that where they are airing it? Or no, no, they're doing it on Toonami.
Which is late at night now, though. It's
Yeah. So well, they air Dragon Ball Uncut on Toonami. So yeah, they probably will just have it
yeah,
maintained.
it can just be his penis, you know.
I mean, do they really think that
There was
kids
a
are gonna
reason.
watch Dragon Ball Super? Because I don't think they will.
Certain kids will.
Certain kids, but
Certain kids who have
not enough kids. I think.
older half brothers who unintentionally got them hooked on this.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess all the kids nowadays, like younger people that are in their lives, or old, I'm sorry, older people that are in their lives are like, oh, Dragon Ball was this awesome thing when I was young. You should watch it. And they see the reruns on like Nickelodeon when they play DBZ Kai or whatever.
Yeah, and
So
you got to remember Kai happened like in their lifetime, so they watched that and they didn't get any of the good filler because they're assholes. And we
they're assholes for being raised in the time that they were raised.
exactly, man. Why couldn't they just go back in time and experience life as I experienced it?
That's the question that I ask myself when I think about how much I hate children, Dylan.
Exactly.
No, they're all right. They're gonna be there when we're gone. So think about that. Probably, not definitely.
No,
Presumably.
working.
Dylan,
I'm working on a solution to that.
you're working on cloning yourself and putting your brain in the clone's body.
Yeah. I mean, it'd probably be
Uh,
easier just to upload your consciousness into a computer. That seems like it's coming. So, I mean, yeah.
Joe Rogan is terrified about it, but it's gonna happen.
I mean, I think that's the more useful road to immortality as opposed to the whole Sidious thing. But whatever.
But Dylan, do you want to be a weird German guy trying to become a god?
Yes, absolutely. He was Russian, by the way. But
Oh my bad. Russians and Germans are weird, and all Frieza's species have
first,
to be evil. The racism never stops on this week's episode of the Demons from Outer
first when you
Space.
said, "Do you want to be a weird German guy?" I thought you were talking about the guy from Captain America: Winter Soldier, which would have been a better
Why? Because we
because
were talking about computers and
because he
putting your head in
actually
the computer.
because he
Right?
actually
He
did
did that
upload himself into a computer.
to actual computer banks. He took it into the next step, the more hilarious next step.
Because he was doing it
Oh,
in the fucking 50s or whatever. I mean, nowadays you could fit me on this flash drive. I mean,
really? You think your brain is small enough to be constituted on like 8 gigs? You're very low confidence, Dylan. You should get some better self esteem.
we can delete some unnecessary information.
The entire history of this podcast.
The technology that it took to fly to the moon is now available in your modern pocket calculator, so I think it's
No, the computing power
I think it's
is.
entirely conceivable
It's the computing power.
that you could
So yeah, I
that you
guess
could fit the mind of a human, especially most humans, onto a flash drive.
maybe we'll have to see, Dylan. We'll have to see when we try it when you come to G Fest next week. So Dylan, Kabe's pretty great, right? And I thought his fight with
Yes.
Vegeta was reminiscent of Goku's fight with Oob, and I think that was definitely on purpose.
Yeah, I hope that Kaba comes back and that becomes a thing between him and Vegeta. I loved seeing Vegeta take on a mentorship role to this kid, and I have a theory about it.
And he did it. He did it in his own unique Vegeta way.
Yeah. Like they did this thing where like you think for a second that he's going bad again. And I was like, oh, not this shit again. But then it turns out that he's.
I never thought for a second he was gonna go bad,
I
and it made a
knew.
lot more sense why he was doing it as opposed to the weird bullshit going on in Resurrection F.
Yeah, it made perfect sense. He was teaching him to go Super Saiyan. Basically, he needed to make him mad so that Kaba could unlock Super Saiyan, and he taught him Super Saiyan. It was great. He developed like a mentorship like relationship with this kid. He sort of became more of a big brother to him than he ever was to Tarble. And
And almost more of a father than he ever was to Trunks. Nah, he's actually a pretty good dad to Trunks now.
he is. But yeah, he it was interesting. He took on this mentorship role to Kaba, and they have dialogue where it's like, "I'd love to come to your version of Planet Vegeta," and or no, Planet Salad it is, because there is no Planet Vegeta in this.
They've
Um,
they've retconned it where now Planet Salad is where the Saiyans originally came from, and they go to Planet Vegeta after that was destroyed.
that retcon it.
But then
That
Vegeta is destroyed, and then it's very confusing. I don't know what Toriyama was thinking.
that retcon's been around for a while, but this is the first time they've actually used it.
Oh, okay, so that's why I've never heard of it until now.
Well, and it's also done because all of the Saiyans' names are uh, vegetable puns. Nappa, Raditz, all of them. Kaba.
But so is Vegeta, which was the name of the planet. It just happened to be confusing that there were 3 different things in Dragon Ball called Vegeta. My
Kaba
son, the planet, or me.
Kaba is a reference to cabbage, not surprisingly.
Right, yeah.
Goku's name, Kakarot, means like carrot or something. I don't remember. But
Kakaroto.
yeah. But what was this? What was I talking about? Oh yeah. So it
We
was
were talking
interesting.
about the fight between Kaba and
It's
Vegeta.
interesting seeing Vegeta and Kaba having this sort of relationship. And let me ask you a question. And maybe this was just me theorizing. Do you think Kaba is the Universe 6 equivalent of Vegeta?
I mean, he was clearly supposed to look like the original Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z, the one with the weird colors.
Because they have
That was a very clear design choice.
because they have that moment where he does the same combat bat stance that Vegeta used to do,
Yes,
and
he
Vegeta points
does.
that out. He uses the Gallic gun, doesn't he? Um, and
No.
and
Maybe?
and he talks about his universe's version of King Vegeta very highly. He never outright states that that's his dad, but I could totally buy that being a thing. The whole time I was watching that fight, I was like, I think this is the Universe 6 version of Vegeta, and if so, that's super interesting. Um,
It'd be interesting to see who the Universe 6 version of Goku is, because this version of Vegeta is like. Or because Kaba is essentially this do-gooder. He's trying to bring honor to his planet and everything, and he's just all about honor and doing the right thing and helping people. He's what we think Frost is initially. He's the genuine article.
Right. It's great because the Saiyans in this universe are the polar opposite of what the Saiyans are in Universe 7. They are actually a peacekeeping force that goes around and fights evil and shit. They're the real.
They're paid to save planets from evildoers and not destroy it for evildoers.
Right. They are the true Ultramen of Universe 6. Um, what if Universe 6's version of Goku landed on a planet, bumped his head, became fucking evil, and now he's black? No,
But just as close.
but just
And not really even. There's a lot of other colors in there too.
just as close, just as close.
Ah,
He's portrayed by Robert Downey Jr.
I would hope so. That's the only choice for live action Goku in my opinion.
I'm a dude disguised as another dude named Son Goku.
He goes through controversial reconstructive surgery just to look like Goku.
Oh, also, the Saiyans in this universe don't have tails, apparently.
No, I guess not. Or maybe they cut them off right away.
Or maybe they evolved out of them
That's possible.
from...
Maybe because they stayed on their original homeworld, they just stopped having them.
Yeah. For some reason, they seem to have evolved away from having tails. Presumably, they had them at some point.
Maybe the Saiyans only evolved to have tails once they were on the planet Vegeta, though. Because that seemed to have been a very specific factor in their relationship with the Tuffles.
I don't know if
Like
they
once
were...
the moon, like when the moon rose, that's when they could, strike against them.
I don't know if they were even on Vegeta long enough for it to actually affect their evolution, though. Like, it's...
But that's the way it always
we don't
was. So that's
understand...
the way I would hope.
We don't really know how long they were on the planet Vegeta. We don't know how long Planet Salad has been dead. Remember that we learned in the maybe canon episode of Bardock that it was originally Planet Plant and that it was staffed by weird looking fucking annoying aliens.
And we learned that the liquid that's used in the healing tanks in Dragon Ball comes from Planet Vegeta, coincidentally.
That was the one cool thing about that special is I was like, oh,
I mean, it's super coincidental, but,
I was like, oh,
it's
it's
cool.
the healing liquid from it's the back to tank, so I can get behind that.
Right.
But
I enjoyed that as well. But just back to Kaba. So how did you feel about him being able to go Super Saiyan?
I think it was fine. I mean, I liked the whole sequence of Vegeta teaching him to do it. Is the thing. Like
It's great.
he had the necessary training, obviously already. Like he was already a pretty capable fighter. He just needed that push
Right.
because part of unlocking the Super Saiyan transformation, at least for the first time, is this anger that you have to harness. It's
Right.
it's like the dark side. But he so basically Vegeta was the Palpatine to Cabba's Vader, and he taught him to harness his anger and come to the Super Saiyan side. But yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought it made perfect sense. I liked the teaching moment, and then I liked how at the end Vegeta showed him Super Saiyan Blue. It was like, if you work hard, maybe one day you can unlock this kind of power, and it was...
This is the potential of your power. But I mean, my whole issue is that they're from a different universe, so who knows what their actual limits are. I mean, they could all be different. But more of it was just, I think I'm still sort of fighting in my mind with the fact that the Super Saiyan was always supposed to be special, and now it's not. The way it's worked into the canon now is if you are a Saiyan, you can go Super Saiyan. And I'm still sort of resisting that, I think.
Well,
So when Kaba went Super Saiyan,
special
I was like...
It's still special because aside from special cases, like Goten and Trunks that make no fucking sense, aside from those special cases, you have to reach a certain peak level of training, it seems, and then go through this, like, angry reaction.
But it seems like once you have that moment of training, once somebody gives you that push, you can do it.
Right.
And it's very simple. Like, Vegeta does it in 10 minutes. I mean, they bring up, like, how crazy it is that Vegeta trains this kid in the midst of their fight.
Well, it's similar to how in Battle of Gods originally, the Super Saiyan God transformation was the special thing that you could only do by getting a certain number of Saiyans to hold hands in the light of a full moon or whatever the fuck it was. And then later on you find out that, oh no, that's actually just like a shortcut to get the power, and you can actually just achieve that on your own through training if you know what the fuck you're doing.
Right. I just thought that I'm still resisting that whole thing. I still remember as a child seeing the episodes of Dragon Ball Z where it was like, one is only chosen every 10,000 years to be the Super Saiyan. and nobody's ever been able to do it outside of being a monkey before now. So I'm still used to that. I'm still clinging to that. I think I just need to let it go and accept that
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long.
Toriyama doesn't give a fuck anymore. Anybody can be a Super Saiyan if they believe enough in themselves, and
All,
I guess that's a better message. So
all they
cool,
need is the heart of the cards, man. But you
right?
gotta.
I just keep forgetting about the heart of the cards, Dylan. I
Right,
keep
right,
forgetting about Yugi Man. It's
right.
really
It's you harness the heart of the cards, and then you can become Super Saiyan and defeat Merrick. Anyway,
right.
well, you gotta.
And that's what we all need to do, Dylan. We all need to become Super Saiyan so we can stop Marek, that damn bastard.
Or join him and plunge the world into the shadow world. Anyway,
I would do that. The Shadow World sounds fun.
you get to have Raw on your side. Raw, best monster in that whole series. We're way off track now. It's been a long fucking time since Super Saiyan stopped being special. I think you need to just get over that one.
I think so too. No, I'm with you.
Especially since
I really enjoyed the scene. Yeah.
I've always just seen it as how much of the Super Saiyan legend was true and how much of it was mythicized by the Saiyans afterwards.
That's possible, but it just seems like it was this new thing that nobody had ever done before, and Goku very quickly just turned it into a thing that you could do in 2 seconds. But I think that was the point,
And I think the
and I'm
problem
okay with that now.
And I think the problem comes with he had to do that once the series kept going after Frieza. Because remember,
Yeah,
he kept trying to find ways to fucking end it. Um,
yeah,
originally,
and I think it, and
originally
I
it was
think it,
just supposed to be, hey, they summon the dragon and Oolong gets the panties and series over. And it did not end there.
No, and I think I'm just kind of clinging to things that Toriyama established long ago. Not even necessarily Toriyama, more like the anime. Uh, and also just these are issues that cropped up, decades ago now, and it's time to let them go and accept what the story is now, I guess. So that's what we'll do. So Dylan, do you want to move on to my next note? Was there anything else in particular you wanted to say about Kaba?
No, I
Because
just
he only gets the fight with Vegeta, unlike the other fighters. He
yeah.
only gets the one fight.
What I liked about him is that whole thing of Vegeta training him. Did we skip Magetta altogether?
Well, we talked about him earlier.
Oh,
And yeah,
I liked his abilities. That was interesting. I liked how he tried to beat Vegeta pretty much just by smoking him out. Clearly it was.
and Champa throughout the fight was kind of adding in different caveats to try and make it easier for him to win,
Yeah,
because I think he pretty quickly realized that he may have been fucked. Because he thought that this was going to be easy, because he saw Goku and Vegeta early on in the saga wearing those big suits that Whis had them
yeah.
wearing to train,
In their
and he thought
base.
they were going to be really easy to beat because they were walking really awkwardly and they could barely move.
Also, they were
But
in
then
their
he
base
realized it was
forms.
because they were in those suits.
They were in their base forms, and then even though their base forms are like super powerful now to the point where base form Goku at this point can travel back in time and kick fucking Super Saiyan Goku from back then's ass. Even though their base forms have become more powerful, he hasn't got a taste of any of their transformations and like their new power ups and shit. So when he starts seeing them actually show what they're capable of, it takes him a bit by surprise. And so he starts trying to tip the odds in his favor. Him and Vados create that barrier around the outside of the ring, essentially so that Magetta's body heat can make it too hot for Vegeta to handle, which was a neat idea, I thought. Um,
No, I enjoyed that as well. Again, it's an example of he's using his abilities to his advantage, not just the fact that he's mad strong and can compete with Vegeta for that reason. There's more to it than that. There's more thought behind it.
I also love it.
I really enjoyed that fight just because we got to see Vegeta being a badass, plowing through lava and shit,
Yeah,
pounding this fucking robot. It
yeah.
was awesome.
What I loved about it was, Magetta was the member of the team that when I first saw them, I thought the least about. I didn't really give him the time of day. Even Botamo had the like notoriety of like looking like Winnie the Pooh. So I was like, "The fuck's going on with him?"
I was interested because
I gave very little thought to what Magetta was prior to him getting in the ring, and then he winds up being like, it takes 3 episodes to take him down. There's a whole three-parter of just Vegeta fighting Magetta, um,
and I just love that we got to see Vegeta get to shine against an enemy that was really tough to take down. Like, Vegeta couldn't really pound him that much because the robot was essentially made of... again, I keep saying robot. I'm sorry. He's not a robot. He's a metal man. Magato was his name, right?
Magetta, you should have learned your lesson with Ultraman, that not everything that appears to be a robot is a robot.
I should get over my racism. In my old age, I see things and I just think they're all the same. I need
That,
to learn that every snowflake is special.
right, right.
So it was just nice to get to see Vegeta really have to struggle against somebody and get to shine. and get to win, to really triumph in the end, which is rare for Vegeta. Usually he has to rely on Goku to come in and save everybody's asses,
Also
including
loved,
in the last saga.
also loved at the end that he could have beaten him the entire time if he had just insulted him. Um,
Oh yeah, that was, I really liked that. That was an addition as well, because that was also sort of like a moment of their individual personalities and strengths, kind of, and weaknesses in some cases, sort of coming into play in the fights.
yeah,
Because Vegeta, at the end of the day, as responsible and as likable as he is now, as much of a responsible family man as he is, as well-rounded as he is, he's still a dick,
yeah.
and he's very aggressive and competitive while fighting. And he's a complete dick to Magetta when he calls him a big metal man. Or what does he say? He just, oh no, a
He,
junk of metal.
yeah, he insults him in some fashion that I,
He calls him a piece of junk or whatever, and
that,
he's really hurt by that.
yeah, and he apparently his species can't take like a fucking insult like at all. I loved it. I love when you have a character who's like super tough, but like they have this fucking Achilles heel. Um,
Yeah, I mean, we got that with not everybody in this, but quite a few of them. We got that element in terms of they all had an Achilles heel. Not Hit. Hit didn't really have an
it
Achilles
didn't have an
heel.
Achilles heel. Frost really didn't have an Achilles heel either. It was just once his needles got taken out of play, he couldn't stand up to Vegeta.
No, but Magato had one. The first one had one.
He
I
didn't
feel
really
like the
have one
least
either. The only one,
his Achilles heel was literally his legs, though.
yeah, all he had to do was pick him up and throw him out of the ring. But I mean,
I think that's a weakness in Achilles heel because he didn't train. That was interesting too. That the
it's a
whole reason for that
weakness.
was that he didn't train because he was resistant to attacks.
That was an interesting callback to how Frieza never trained because he was a prodigy. But but that was only a weakness because they were in this tournament setting though. If you were to fight Botamo in like a straight fight, like in a dark alley in the boroughs of Chicago, you would lose because you can't.
Man, you're excited for G Fest. I can tell you're already there. You're just like I'm in the downtown Chicago area.
You can't fucking ring him out, man. You can't do it.
Fair enough. If you were in downtown Chicago, you could not get him, beat him by a technicality. Fair enough. I agree.
So that's not a ring out. That's not an Achilles heel. Anybody can get wrung out in a tournament setting. Um,
Fair enough, but weakness, certainly weakness that is exploited. Uh, so okay. Um, so I feel like we. Is there anything else you want to say about Magata? I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say about that junk of metal.
yeah, no, I'm done. Yeah.
Fuck him. So Dylan, let's talk about the one that sounds like was your favorite, and I think mine as well. I really liked him. What I wrote about our good friend Mr. Hit was that Hit is like a late '90s Matrix Terminator assassin type of character. Interesting to see in the Dragon Ball context fight Goku, because design-wise he was a bit different from what you usually get in Dragon Ball. He had a long trench coat, he had like
Yes.
military padding, he had combat boots, and he
Andres
wasn't a fighter, he was an assassin. That was really interesting.
Andres would love this character. He's got the trench coat. Uh,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he doesn't keep up with the series. Yeah, Hit was great. I just wish he had a different name because it's really hard to describe that fight to people. Like I tried to describe it to somebody, and I was like, "Well, see,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, Goku couldn't hit, but then he did hit, but then hit him, and then Goku kept hitting hit, and hit the hit. Um, uh,
And then you just lose your mind.
my brain hurts,
Your brain's been hit by use of the word hit
and by
because we're talking about hit.
yeah, hit him.
Holy shit! All right, let's. So Dylan, I really like the aesthetic though. There's the visual clash, the visual contrast, if you will, between the poppy, old school mystical sci-fi over the top elements of DBZ with the sort of military inspired assassin grounded type of look of Hit.
Yeah,
That you get from more like your late '90s Matrix type of
and the
movies.
interesting
That
thing is
sort of after Dragon Ball Z's heyday. Heyday.
the interesting thing is that Hit is kind of an exception to what I was talking about before when I was talking about how most of the characters Akira Toriyama introduces now are very simplistic in design. Hit looks like he could have been in DBZ and he would have fit along like just perfectly alongside like Future Trunks and shit. Like he doesn't really have that
Yeah,
simplified.
certainly with characters like Future Trunks, yeah,
Yeah,
because that's more of a sci-fi influence, not an over-the-top space, cosmic, mythical thing.
yeah. I wonder if our universe, I say. I wonder if Universe 7 has a version of Hit that we've just never met. Um,
I wonder if Hit exists in the real world, Dylan. Maybe, but it seems like it's kind of mixed. Where it's like, I mean, Frost isn't Frieza,
No,
But it would be interesting to see what the equivalent of Hit is in our universe, because it wouldn't be the same character.
no,
Oh, by the way, this is something we didn't get into with Frost. Did you mind that he had the same voice as Frieza?
no. Didn't bother me.
I thought it was nice early on because you got to hear that really weird, kind of almost scary contrast of, the voice of Frieza being nice. That was
Yeah.
certainly weird.
What's really interesting is how
But I
similar.
wish they would have stuck with that.
What's really interesting is how similar to Frieza the voice actress for Goku is when she does Black later on.
Yes, that's certainly true.
It's a similar tone and pitch. I think when Japanese play evil, they just go for like this monotone, and it's anyway. Um, what was I talking about?
We were talking about Hit. That was
Hit,
where we were.
right? Hit.
So his main thing is that he can stop time and
He's not.
punch you while time is stopped.
He's not stopping time. That's Goldo. He's skipping. He's skipping by like in like what is it like 3 second increments?
Oh, right, my bad. My
It's a
bad.
time skip, so you don't really see him coming, and he hits you before you can even because he was moving so fast that even Jocko couldn't see it, and that was a great moment when they pointed that out because it's been established that Jocko has like really great senses. He can hear well, and he has like great eye. Well, his thing is eyesight. Piccolo's got the super hearing.
Yeah, and they both use it at different points. Piccolo picks up on the whole thing with Monica because of his big ears,
Right,
and
right, right. Oh, we haven't even talked about Monaka, but we can talk about it.
I have a thing. We'll get to him.
But
Uh,
so hit.
so I'm sorry, I misinterpreted what Hit was doing, but
You got three different time-based techniques that we've seen so far in DBZ or Dragon Ball. I keep calling it DBZ. Remember how I was talking about how Akira Toriyama is obsessed with time shit? You've got Goldo, who stops time by holding his breath. You've got Whis, who reverses time by 3 minutes, and you've got Hit, who like skips ahead by
and then you've
their
got Trunks
sorting.
time travel. You've got Trunks time traveling, so there's a whole bunch of time manipulation going on.
That's not a technique though.
No, but I'm just saying you got a whole bunch of time stuff going on recently in Dragon Ball.
It's a machine. Uh,
It is. That's why it's called a time machine. You're right. I didn't think of that.
Shit,
My bad.
it's his fucking
What?
turtles. I just dropped some shit. Anyway,
Fucking failure. No.
anyway, so
You just drank,
uh,
and moved on.
what was I talking about?
Um,
Hit, love that man. He
his fight with Goku was awesome
yes. Well,
because Goku drags the fighter out of him, the fighter who strives to be better and stronger, and look past his ability and look past his comfort and his confidence in him, his ability to kill people, and rather go, well, how much can I push myself against this guy? What are my limits? And I think that
yeah,
Hit really appreciates that from Goku.
I love that they've set him up to be sort of Goku's next sort of like rival type relationship, because
He reminded me of Pycon a little bit in that way.
similar, yeah, similar. He but just throughout the entire tournament, we knew Hit was going to be a badass because we had that scene where he took down Frost. We had all those moments throughout the tournament where Goku wasn't even focusing on the fight at hand because he was too busy staring at Hit and like trying to figure this guy out. Like whenever Goku is super interested in a guy, you know he's going to be strong.
Yeah,
Um,
and once they established that, I knew, okay, so this guy's going to be the primary threat.
yeah,
Because at first I was kind of wondering, like, okay, well, what are they going to do towards the end here? Who's the main threat that Goku's inevitably going to have to take out?
right.
Because I knew that's going to be where it
Always
went.
have to end the tournament with like a big fight, you know. The first tournament
With Goku, because early on Goku gets taken out when he loses against Frost, and I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. Vegeta might have to be the one who saves the day in the end here, but nah, Goku gets put back in on a technicality, which I also didn't really like. I kind of wished Vegeta would have been the one to take it from there, from then on. I mean,
But then we get another great moment though, because we've just seen Vegeta be awesome and take out, you know, three motherfuckers, and then fucking Hit comes in and takes him out like it's nothing, and you're like, oh shit. And then Goku has to go in and fight him, and like the whole time Goku's like, oh, Monaka can do it, and Beerus is like, no, Monaka must go last. Um,
yeah, I love that too. But no, I really enjoyed that element, and I also was happy that Hit didn't turn out to be like a stereotypically evil big bad for Goku to have to destroy and take out, somebody to ruin the tournament or whatever. Like that's kind of what I thought Goku was sort of picking out when he was staring at him, like he was identifying him as the biggest threat. But not really. There really isn't a main antagonist at all, really. Like if anybody, it's kind of Frost. Like he's the one who turns out to be the most evil. And
I was happy that Hit was able to live up to the hype, honestly, because whenever they build
oh
up
certainly,
They
Definitely.
they build him up all through that Universe 6 tournament, and the whole time I'm sitting there like, God, I hope I don't get disappointed with this guy. Because one problem this arc has is that the fights, with the exception of that Megetta fight, which stretches out for 3 episodes and is awesome, the other fights can be a bit too short. Um,
Which ones in particular stuck out to you? Because I didn't necessarily have that, but I can
I
see what
mean,
you mean.
the it's just they're very anticlimactic. The Botamo fight was fine because he had to like finish him off on a technicality that made sense. But then like we
Right.
only get to see one episode of him going toe to toe with Frost before he gets eliminated. That was kind of a bummer. And then
If
Pickle.
that had turned out to be more interesting, though, in terms of who Frost was, it would have bugged me, but because of what it turned out to be, I didn't
And I
care.
mean, Frost did get 3 episodes, but he was fighting a different guy in each episode. Uh,
But only because I didn't really care as much about the conflict of his character at that point. I wasn't as bothered by the fact that his fight with Goku was pretty brief, but I can see what you mean. I can totally
And
see
then
that point.
Kaba, I understood why the fight was short because it was just that teaching moment between him and Vegeta. But I don't know, they could stretch some of these fights out to be at least one more episode long. Like the fights in DBZ were so awesome, and one thing about DB Super is it usually doesn't live up to that standard, unfortunately. I mean, this series is a lot more focused on the comedy than DBZ was.
Yes.
But still, you can have both. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can have all your great comedy, and then when the time comes for a fight, make it fucking great. Like Dragon Ball used to do that. Whenever we went up against like Piccolo or somebody, Dragon Ball used to do that. I mean, there were plenty of episodes where it was just Goku knocking out like the little henchmen or whatever. But you know what I mean? It's like there's a standard of Dragon Ball fights, and I feel like most of Super doesn't quite reach it. And then you've got exceptions to that. I mean, you've got Beerus versus Goku, and you've got stuff like that. Goku versus Hit at the end of this. But so many of the fights in the show just wind up being totally anticlimactic. And
And the animation doesn't help either. I mean, the
no,
fact that they don't look amazing doesn't really, you know, it doesn't really make the fact that they're not long and drawn out like that's what I think really doesn't make it bother me that much is because it's, it's it's not that well animated, so the fight choreography isn't great.
mm.
So it's not that much fun to look at for a long time. It's more interesting when they're talking and going through their thought processes as they're fighting and talking to each other and interacting with each other. It's not so much like, well, I'm watching these. I'm having a good time watching these two people punch on for a while.
Yeah.
It's like it's okay, but it's not like. It's not what I'm there to see necessarily, which is interesting because you'd hear a typical criticism of Dragon Ball Z is that people just watch it for the fights, and I'm like, not me. Like I'm in
No,
it for the characters because the animation isn't always that great, so the fights aren't really always much to look at.
to me with Z though it was kind of 50-50. It was, yeah, the awesome fights are amazing, but then it was also I love these characters. You got both of those
It
things.
was more of a tilt in Z, but in Super, I think it's more leaning away from the animation being the thing that's bringing you there.
In
I think Z it
Z
was more so.
in Super, it's much more just the characters are what take you through it, honestly.
Yeah,
Whereas in
absolutely.
Z, I felt like you had a really good 50-50. And it's because they're trying to balance what Z was with what Dragon Ball was. Because Dragon Ball was super jokey, and then when you got to Z, it was more action oriented. And in Super, I think they're trying to have both of those, and I don't know that they've ever really found the right balance. Now, things after Universe 6. But for what we're reviewing, they haven't been able to strike that balance, I don't think. Um,
I can feel that. I didn't feel that way. I really enjoyed most of this, and that's the other thing too. I didn't really have a lot of problems with this generally,
mhm.
detail wise. Certainly, I had my qualms. The Frost thing,
Yes.
a couple of other things here and there in terms of the actual moment to moment details, but generally nothing broad sweeping has bugged me like it has with the past
And
two
and
sagas
I'm speaking
because we're getting new Dragon Ball, Dylan.
right,
How
right.
cool was that new Dragon Ball we've never seen before?
And I'm speaking mostly about the series in general, honestly. The Universe 6
Yeah,
arc is better about
I feel you.
this than the previous two were. I'm just saying. I don't know.
I definitely
I don't know that
agree.
they've
I
ever
totally agree.
I don't know that they've ever gotten it 100% right yet. And I feel like
No, I don't think this show has really found a perfect balance of being completely successful at everything it sets out to do yet. Hopefully, it'll get there
and I
someday.
feel like
Someday, Dylan.
I feel like it's really good right now, but it could be so much better. Anyway, what was I saying?
I totally agree.
Oh, segue
Well, we were
though.
just talking about Hit. Yeah.
Segue. You know what
Good
is
segue. Yeah.
you know
Segue
what
away.
you know what really is well animated? Goku versus Hit.
Whoa, good segue. Yes.
That is the money shot of this motherfucking uh Saga? Arc's the word.
Well, it's I think the longest fight, right?
I'm not sure. It's certainly the most satisfying.
Yeah, but it feels the most drawn out. It feels like the most happens over the course of that fight. Although that fight between Vegeta and Magata is pretty long too.
Yeah.
But this felt longer because more happened. There was more
Vegeta
developments.
versus
There
Megiddo
were there was
was 3 episodes long. I think this was at least that long. Maybe
But I think
maybe it was a little
because
long.
more happened in it, there were more breaks in the fight in between, the actual punch-ons and, Goku being down for the count for a while and Hit being like, dude, if you get up, I'm going to have to kill you to put you down. So
Yeah.
just stay down and let this be over. And that was great too. I love the moment where Hit just looks at the referee and goes, killing isn't allowed, right? And he goes, yeah, no, it's not. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? He can't really surrender.
Yeah.
He's kind of out of breath, and he's like, well, I guess he's down, and then he gets back up again, and the fight continues. But
Oh,
I really enjoyed
I love the
that.
fact that the referee looks like Jocko and Majin Buu fuck. Anyway,
He looked like a stereotypical gray alien. Going back to that conversation we were
but he
having
had
earlier.
the Majin Buu thingy, and the whole time I was watching it, I was like, is he supposed to be like? D does Majin Buu's whatever they are look like that in Universe 6? Because if so, that's neat.
Well, Super Boo had that. No, 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 no. I know what you mean. He didn't look like all squarish and everything. He looked a bit different
the
than what
referee
Super.
the referee had the Majin Buu like head, but he also had like the alien eyes. So it was,
Right. Yeah. No, that's possible. That would be interesting.
but so hit versus Goku.
All right,
Um,
so Dylan, this is a criticism I'm going to bring up just because I'm getting a bit tired and we're getting pretty long into this podcast,
right.
so I kind of want to wrap up in at least my notes. But one other thing I wrote down was that several time sensitive elements are added that then drag on like they don't exist and make them feel superfluous. And the first thing I had here for that, and we can get into another one in a minute, was the Kaioken or the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken.
Kind of like
In
a
that Goku.
kind of like when you have a planet that's going to explode in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. It's very reminiscent of the old days. And that's why it's ultimately fine. Dragon Ball Z is infamous for this. But because those time sensitive elements are brought up as part of the story and as part of the motivations for what our characters are doing in the moment, it really bugged me that they became like they were totally ignored. Like, Goku was like, the only advantage I have against Hit is being able to use the Kaioken in Super Saiyan Blue form.
Right.
But it's only going to
Ah,
work for a limited time,
that was an
so I should probably
amazing
do this quickly.
that was an amazing moment though. And I
Oh, it was cool.
when he is already in Super Saiyan Blue mode, and then he yells Kaioken, and I was like, oh shit, oh shit.
Yeah, no, that
Idiot.
was great. I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
The mic kind of dropped in that moment. Yeah, no, it
My
was
only
great.
complaint is the way it looks. It's like the regular Super Saiyan Blue aura, and then it's got like the red Kaioken aura around it. It would have looked
He
so.
should have just been all red.
It would, I think it would have looked better if they had just mixed the two colors and had him turn purple. That would have been cool. Um,
No, but imagine if it was just the Super Saiyan Blue body with a red aura around it. Like, it would almost have looked like a mix of, like, the Kaioken, the Super Saiyan God, and Super
yeah.
Saiyan God, Super Saiyan with Super Saiyan Blue.
You mean yeah. Uh,
They're
um,
all the same thing, I know, but
what
I wanted to say it again.
whatever the fuck he is, Super Saiyan God plus fucking Super Saiyan Godzilla or whatever the fuck he is.
Thank God there's a new name for it now with Super Saiyan Blue.
Yes, thank God. One of the good things that's happened in Super with regards to retelling the first two movies. Anyway, so they what was I saying? He
Well, no, in Resurrection F, they called it Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. They didn't start calling it Super Saiyan Blue until this arc. At least in the
oh,
version I watched.
okay. Anyway, so I love the explanation that the reason he's able to do it because before he could never combine Super Saiyan and Kaioken because it would just be suicide. But the reason he's able
Nah, not true. He did it in the other world tournament in the Buu Saga. He did the Super Kaioken.
that's not canon.
I'm sorry, it didn't happen in the books. My bad, but that's what I remembered.
I'm not usually a stickler for that sort of thing, but I have to be in this case because it works towards the explanation that they give for why he's able to do it in Super Saiyan Blue form. Anyway, he couldn't combine them before because it would have been too stable. But the thing about Super Saiyan Blue is it has perfect ki control, which is why he was able to outlast Frieza in his golden form because Frieza's golden form like burned through energy like way too fast and go.
That was like a Super Saiyan for Frieza, whereas Super Saiyan Blue is a god state for Goku.
It's more analogous really to Kaioken for Frieza, because Super Saiyan, at least we've seen them been able to fight in that form for like an extended period of time. It seems like
With training.
it seems like Frieza's golden form just taps out like that. Really, it burns through all his ki really quickly. And I mean, against most people it wouldn't matter, but against somebody like Goku, it became an issue. Um,
Right.
but yeah, the thing that they've already introduced, and that's what I love about it, it's continuity. Super's continuity is fucked in so many ways, but every now and then they do something right, and I'm like, yeah, is that they establish that Super Saiyan Blue has perfect ki control, and then they use that as an explanation for why he's able to add Kaioken on top of it without just exploding. And I mean, there's still a huge toll on his body after the fight's over. He like swells up.
Yeah, it's great. And then they carry it over into the ensuing episodes, and it becomes like a little bit of
Yeah,
a one episode plot that was awesome. I loved
that was
that.
great. Yeah,
It was nice to see Goku have to pay some consequences for a move he made in a fight. Like
yeah,
usually he just pops a sensu bean and he's good.
yeah.
Not this time. King Kai's like, listen, man, you're gonna start facing your limits. You're getting older. You're not always gonna get stronger after you get back from a fight.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. That was
That was awesome.
a great
Yeah.
episode. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so yeah, Goku versus Hit. It was good, and I loved how Hit's ability is that he just sort of improves over the course of a fight. It's not like a Zenkai boost like what the Saiyans have. He's just able to. He's like Jet Jaguar. He's just constantly reprogramming himself because he keeps making his time skips shorter over the course of the fight. It's weird. He's his species, whatever they are, seems to have this ability that he's able to evolve in the course of a fight, as opposed to having a fight and then learning from his mistakes and evolving later. You know what I mean? And so they were able to really push them each other in that way. It was great.
Yeah,
It was a
and
good it was a good mechanic to introduce to Hit's character that allowed him to compete with Goku and actually come out of the fight on top, because eventually Goku just could not outlast Hit.
well, no. What happened was Goku wanted Hit to test his kill techniques on him because Hit was holding back.
Right.
Hit wasn't able to use his kill techniques in the tournament because they're one hit kills and you can't kill in the tournament.
Right.
Goku requests that that rule be removed just for their fight, so that way he can test his full limits against Hit's full limits.
Yeah, it really makes me wish that Hit was a Mortal Kombat character. He would shred in that game. Anyway, uh,
And well, we never see what his actual kill techniques are, so maybe they're shit. You wouldn't know.
I don't.
But,
You could be right. You could be right.
but anyway, I didn't mean to dash your dreams. But anyway, or potentially dash your dreams.
Fatalities these days. Ugh. Anyway,
But what I was saying, oh, what was I saying? Damn.
Hit. You're talking about Hit.
Oh, so what actually? So Goku gives up. He loses on purpose.
Yeah.
And then that sets up Hit losing to Monica on purpose in the final battle.
Well, there was also this really cool moment where like he quit on purpose because he was. For one thing, it was because he couldn't keep up that form for very long. Now that he had.
Yeah, there was more to it though. You're right.
But it was also because like there was the whole thing about how they realized that they were like just being used as puppets by Beerus and Champa, and they were like,
Yeah.
there's just a moment where Goku and Hit sort of look at each other and they're like, you know what, fuck that, and then Goku quits the tournament and Hit does something very similar in the final match of the tournament.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that because that seemed like the really big kind of sum up moment of the gods where Champa is like, Champa and Beerus are both like, both of you need to learn your place. This is a battle between the gods. This is not about your battles. You are merely puppets for us to use as instruments of our own feelings, and
Yeah.
you're subservient to us. Know your place. And Goku and Hit are both just because of who they are as people, pushing their limits, and Goku has really brought that out of Hit, and Hit's also just very, rebellious and
Yeah.
self-confident anyway, the strong silent type. So
Yeah.
they're both just like, fuck you two, we're out of this, you guys can do what you want.
I love how that element. There seems to have been a moment, and there seems to have been a theme in Universe 6, because in the Universe 6 arc, because earlier on we had the whole thing where like Bulma wanted to get the Super Dragon Balls for herself because she was afraid of what Beerus might do with them. There seems to have been this theme in this arc where like over the past two arcs we've become friends with Beerus, and like it seems like this arc was trying to say, hold up guys, it's still pretty fucked up. They're gods of destruction. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing, is that
let's have a look at the darker side of this.
yeah, I mean that's the thing about their relationship, is that they started out as villains for a reason, right? Beerus and Whis. So
Yeah.
they really need to bear that in mind, that their goals and that they're not really on the same side. I mean, Goku and all of them are on the side of humanity and on each other's side and about people and life. but they're about destroying stuff. They're about the balance of the universe
And I
and
love
cosmic justice. They're like, okay, here's a good example. Here's a good comparison. I mean, Goku and the Z Fighters are like the Jew Rangers, and Beerus is like Daijujin.
mm, and I love that at the end after Hit. Spoilers. I love how at the end after Hit throws the fight with Manaka. Scene very reminiscent to Android 18 throwing in the fight to Hercule back in Z. Um, After he does that, like Champa would have killed all of them had the Omni King not showed up. Like
Right,
there for a second, he was like, "Y'all are fucked," and then the Omni King showed up, and that worked out well.
right. No, that was definitely like sort of the point of the arc was that, or that they're all sort of these puppets of these gods, and we have to acknowledge that if we're going to be friends with them, and we have to address that. So I like that that's being addressed, and it feels like it's going to be more so because in this recent arc there was some conflict between what the Z fighters wanted to do and what the gods said was allowed. So that was interesting. So
Yes.
I'm sure that there'll be more of that as we go on. Um,
Like
but
like having Beerus and Whis around all the time has really just altered the formula of how things go down. Like case in point, that moment in the Battle of or not Battle of Gods, that moment in the Resurrection F movie, where Frieza notices that Beerus is there and then kind of has to ask him for permission to keep the fight going. Like,
Yeah. Like we're still getting used to that. We're still questioning that, I think, and I think that there should be more of that as the show goes on. What I would love to see is an episode where Beerus loses his power, and what if like Vegeta or Bulma, like, because it seems like one of them would be the ones to suggest this is like, well, now that he's powered down, why don't we kill him and get him out of the way, so that way he's not a danger later.
it wouldn't solve anything though, because it would then be Whis' job to just recruit another god of destruction. I mean,
Right, but I'm just saying that might be something they might suggest in the moment. I mean, they probably wouldn't try that, but I'm just saying they would suggest that maybe.
yeah, especially
Um,
Bulma.
that's what I'm saying is like one either her or Vegeta, probably her though.
Yeah, probably her.
Vegeta would probably be the one who would be like, well, no, they would just get another one, so it's not really going to solve anything.
Well, and also because as much as Vegeta has changed, he's still Vegeta, and he's not gonna want to take Beerus out like a bitch. He's gonna wanna reach his level of power on his own.
But I don't think he looks at Beerus like that anymore, though. I think that at this point
I
he's
don't
just
know.
like, Beerus is a lunatic, and I have to.
After what happened on planet, however the fuck you pronounce it, with the super water, it seems like Vegeta's still got some of that crazy shit going on in his psyche.
Yeah, but his life was the only one that was at stake in that instance, and I don't think he really like that really felt true to him in that moment. Like it seemed like he was kind of forgetting that he was gonna die if Goku lost that fight against the duplicated fight version of himself, and that's why he was sort of rooting for the duplicated version of himself. So
Mhm.
it didn't really seem like it was more of like, well, fight's a fight, strength is strength, nothing else matters. I think because of Beerus's role in the universe and because of his personality, Vegeta is like, this guy is dangerous, and if I have to fight him, or if the opportunity arises that I can get an advantage over him to protect Earth, I will. And I kind of like that.
Mhm.
Because there's also that moment in the episode where everybody's trying to keep it a secret from Goku that Monica is weak,
Right.
that uh, Vegeta is in a second ready to fight Beerus again when Beerus gets all upset because everybody finds out that Monica is weak.
Right.
And in a heartbeat, he's just like, oh, I'm ready. I'm doing it again. I'm going to have to give up my life to fight Beerus. And I really like that that was a consistent thing. Um, but Dylan, we're almost through my notes here, and we're almost 2 hours in. So why don't we bomb through the rest of them?
Shit, really?
And
Fuck.
yeah, yeah, and you bring up the rest of what you've got to bring up. I'm feeling it too. I worked a full shift today. I'm
Um.
I'm feeling it. So we'll blow through the rest of my notes here. Here's one thing I wrote down. This is another example of like the whole time elements of things that are time sensitive being forgotten. Vegeta feels like he completely forgets that he was going to disappear, and everybody else does around him, including Goku, because they draw out starting that fight between him and the superhuman water Vegeta, like,
Oh, have
to a
we
crazy degree.
have we skipped talking about that episode now?
No, I was just bringing that up as another example of the point I brought up earlier of time-sensitive elements being thrown by the wayside.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
But at least he has that
that was
that.
something I'm
But at least he has that handy pacifier to.
in it. But the other thing I wrote down here was Toriyama still gives no fucks, and focuses on what he wants to and lets all other elements fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Mostly logic and moment-to-moment continuity. Just in terms of, he seems to forget things after he's established them. I didn't write down a particular example, but I should have, and I think that was, but I think it just came up in terms of, it seems like he establishes a thing, and then if he wants to focus on another thing, he will, and everything else will kind of take a back seat to that, even if it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I hear
And it's very Toriyama.
you. Yeah. It's what's both endearing and frustrating about that man. Um,
That didn't really come up to you a lot in this. You just kind of accept that as a part of Dragon Ball at this point.
Pretty much, especially Super.
I totally agree,
He's
and
gotten
I think that I do as well.
he's gotten way worse at it with age. Uh,
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that that's certainly a factor. Um, so Dylan, do you want to talk about the Super Dragon? Are we there yet, or is there anything else you want to bring up before that?
well, I mean, in the interest of being chronological, I suppose before we talk about the Super Dragon, we should mention the Omni King. Um,
Okay.
I mean, I mentioned him before, but only to say that he showed up.
Right.
Basically what happens is Goku loses to Hit, and then Manaka gets in the ring. Beerus thinks he's fucked because it turns out Manaka is just fucking space Krillin, and he can't do a damn thing. And he punches Hit in the shin, and then Shin throws the fight, flies out of the ring. So now Goku still thinks that Manaka is strong.
You mean Hit?
Champa,
You said Shin, and I thought you were talking about the Supreme Kai for a second.
what? You cut out for
You did too. What I said was, you said Shin got hit in the shin,
no Hit got
and I
hit.
was like, no, I know you meant Hit, but I thought you were talking about fucking Supreme Kai for a second.
Oh no.
And I was really confused because he was there. They split him and Kibito apart. We didn't talk about that
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
for no fucking reason.
Also liked that we got to see the Kais from Universe 6. That was interesting. Um,
Yeah, they were completely different from the versions we're familiar with as well, so that was nice.
they were green skinned. Interesting
They were
enough.
green.
Interesting.
There was a fat Kai, like there was in the Majin Buu saga of Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah,
like in the flashbacks.
maybe he's analogous to that guy. But anyway,
Potentially. Yeah, there was.
what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so Champa gets mad because Hit through the fight. He threatens to kill all of his warriors for failing him, and then Vados is like, bruh, look who's in the ring. And Champa and Beerus both freak out because standing in the middle of the ring is the Omni King, and have now been introduced to this as the most powerful character in all of DBZ, at least until I did it again. The most powerful character in all of Dragon Ball, at least until Toriyama dreams up somebody stronger. So, I love it. He's just this little fucking, like, just this little guy, and his head looks like a fucking Tylenol, and like
And he's not powerful because he's a strong fighter. He's powerful because he can destroy anything just by thinking about it.
yeah, he's powerful in like the Christian God sort of way.
Yeah, he's almost like a Doctor Who villain. He's almost like a Sutek, where he's just like, I just think about things and they blow up. That's what I am.
Yeah.
So deal with that.
Beerus is a
Goku slash Doctor Who.
Beerus is a god in like the Greek sort of way. This guy is god in like the Christian sense. And
Yes,
and,
certainly.
and he's got these two bodyguards with him that are really interesting looking. They're tall and they have blue skin, and I wonder if they might be the same species as Vados and Whis because they are also tall and have blue skin.
They're walking on stilts, it looks like, but really they're probably just really big.
Yeah, they do this cool move where like they sink down into the floor and then they pop back up in front of Goku. Um,
That was ominous too. The Omninus King. No, that was ominous though. Just in terms of like Goku runs up to them, and everybody's like, "Oh shit!" Like I thought something really bad was gonna go down. That moment of tension totally worked.
yeah.
Even though in the end I probably should have known that it was just gonna be everybody's fine with Goku because everybody loves Goku, and I was like, oh, I was kind of glad it ended up going there.
Yeah.
Like that was an endearing moment to me, but there was certainly that moment of tension that I enjoyed.
But you know, and then the Omni King, basically just says that he wants to do another one of these tournaments at some point in the future, but with fighters from all 12 universes as opposed to just those two, because he is the ruler over all 12 universes, which we learn later on, not in this arc, but later on at the beginning of the Future Trunks arc. But I just thought I'd throw it out there because it's a bit of cool backstory about the Omni King, that originally there were 18 universes, and he has already destroyed 6 of them for whatever reasons.
Because he got in a bad mood. So apparently he is like Beerus Beerus and Champa, in the sense that he will just destroy things because he gets pissed off sometimes. So that's certainly terrifying.
Again, God in the Christian sense.
Very Judeo-Christian of him, certainly.
Yeah.
Abraham, sacrifice your son to me because I'm better than you.
Tons
So
tons of floods, going on, not so much curing cancer. Anyway, so yeah, he's just there to set up this idea of this Omni tournament that's going to be coming at some point in the future. We don't know when. Maybe it's right after the Black Goku shit. Maybe it's further on down the line. But that's just something neat to look forward to. I think it'll be like the ultimate end game of this series, honestly,
Probably.
or at least for the episode run that they have slated. Which it was rumored that it was going to go for 100 episodes, and that was never really I've never really heard that confirmed or denied. Which we're up.
Because if so, we're halfway through at that point.
Yeah, we're at 50 now. So, and the show's been on for a year, Bill.
It's crazy. It's true, but it's crazy.
Started July 5th of last year. I can't believe it.
No, it's insane. It's cool though.
Yeah. So anyway, what was it talking about with the fucking?
We were talking about like the end because I brought up getting to the Super Dragon, and there was some stuff that we skipped in between.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's what was up with the Omni King. Now we've got this cool thing to look forward to. There's going to be a tournament with all 12 universes. So now all of the fighting that Goku and Vegeta do have a point again because now they're training for something that's upcoming.
Right. That's which is good, and which is why the whole Monica thing I find really weird. I guess we could talk about this like when we get to the episode that it's sort of brought up in, but
yeah.
I don't know why Beerus is so like intent on keeping Monica a secret from Goku and Vegeta because they have other motivation to train for. I think
They
I
have
don't know
him.
why they need.
He
No.
he fills the role that he's using Monaca for. I mean,
Well, yeah, okay, well, yeah, Beerus, but he's a god, so I think it's sort of the implied that like they can't get to his level on their own, really, but they can get close. But they have all the other people in the other universes. Now, maybe the idea is supposed to be that Goku needs like a tangible person to compare himself to, but he can't fight Monica. And when he does, he's really just fighting Beerus. So it's like, what's the point of this? It just seems like a pointless comedic turn. Do you agree?
yeah, and I think that's because Toriyama. um,
It's funny. Like there are some funny moments in it. I like the 3 episode arc we get out of it, but
yeah, I like
it's not necessary. It's complete bullshit.
I like Monaka's design. He's just this weird looking alien who's not very he's very unassuming and he just has these giant ass nipples. And
All his strength is in his nipples, as Beerus says early on.
and when you meet him on Earth, you're like, is this guy really super powerful? And you're thinking maybe he is because Akira Toriyama has a way of making guys who don't seem to look that powerful actually be that powerful. But then at the end, it's like, nope, he's not at all.
No. He's a complete pussy.
That was a good way to add some mystery to the arc, though, because the whole time, until Beerus and Whis actually stayed outright that he's just an amateur, the whole time it is kind of in the back of your mind, like, is this guy just a pussy, or is this guy really strong, like Beerus said? Like, what? This can go one of two ways.
Definitely. But yeah, no, I thought he was funny. I liked his design. I liked his big nipples, but I just thought that it was nonsensical. Like just tell him just tell Goku like there are other gods, because the reason why Beerus explains that he's using Monica is because he's like some of the gods of destructions are really violent in the other universes, like way more so than me and Champa. So we've got to be ready for that. Goku and Vegeta have to be ready to contend with that. So
I think
I don't know
part
why
of
he
the
doesn't
idea,
just tell Goku that.
when he first tells Goku about Monaka, he has a line where he's like, "You didn't really think you were the strongest mortal opponent I've ever faced, did you?" So I kind of get the idea that maybe Monaka's there to sort of deflate Goku's ego a little bit. Because Goku at that point was thinking, "Oh, I'm the strongest guy that the God of Destruction's ever faced in battle," and now he's like, "Oh shit, there's another guy."
Which goes back on what Beerus told him in Battle of Gods, because what Beerus said then, and I think this is in the show, not just in the movie, was that you're the second strongest, my first strongest opponent being Whis.
Yeah.
So, he kind of lied. And Goku's an idiot, so I guess he wouldn't remember, but you'd think somebody would have remembered.
Yeah. I mean, Vegeta figures it out because when they find out,
Everybody else figures it out pretty quickly.
yeah, when they find out in that next episode that Monica isn't really that strong, nobody's surprised. But Beerus is like, "We have to keep this a secret from Goku." It was a fun little like sitcom plot in the middle of DB Super. It was nice.
Absolutely.
But that's skipping ahead. You wanted to get into the Super Dragon.
Yeah, so in the midst of all of that,
totally skipped all the setup at the beginning of this arc, didn't we? Where like Champa introduces us to the idea of the Super Dragon Balls, and then we have that episode before the tournament where Bulma and uh, Jocko go and visit that guy Zuno, who like is the wisest person in the universe and knows the answer to everything, and he tells them all about the Super Dragon Balls and shit.
Enjoyed that. It got like weirdly like creepy. because Vegeta kept having to go to Jocko, don't do anything weird to Bulma. Like, I thought that was funny.
And I love how Jocko's
It's like,
like,
there
I
was
am
this weird...
not interested.
But then he totally is later, because, like, he totally shows, like, some, like, weird, like, attraction to her. It got a little creepy, but it was still really funny, so
Yeah,
I
when you
enjoyed it a
consider the
lot.
fact that when he first met Bulma, she was like barely out of diapers.
That's what gets brought up, because we get a flashback at one point to Bulma being a little kid and hanging out with Jocko and Bulma's sister.
Right?
And I thought Bulma's sister was younger than her, but no,
No,
she's older, I
I
guess,
love,
right?
yeah, I love that because it's the only part of Jocko the Galactic Patrolman manga that's ever been animated, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I saw that. I was like, oh, this must be the first ever like solo Jocko story that has ever been shown in animation before.
That was also the first time that Akira Toriyama introduced the idea in the Jocko the Galactic Patrolman manga of, oh yeah, there's time travel, but it's super illegal.
Right. All right, so Dylan, we're really far into this, and I'm crazy tired. So let's hit the notes that we really want to cover. So
So you really
the
wanted
only
to talk
things
about this?
I want to talk, I really want to talk about the Super Dragon. So the Super Dragon, and again, we kind of skipped the setup of this, but
Way,
basically,
way to one up GT. I mean, wow.
oh yeah, definitely, he's way cooler than the Black Star Dragon Ball's dragon, the Dark Shinron, as I believe he was called.
No, no,
But
Dark Shinron is the one that creates the Shadow Dragons, right? The Black Star Dragon Ball Shinron is just he's red for some reason.
right, and we only ever saw him once, right?
We saw him more than Black Star Dragon Balls more than once.
So the Super Dragon Balls are the sort of penultimate goal of the season, the ultimate goal being the wish. But really, they have to find all 7 Super Dragon Balls, which they can't do before the tournament starts, which was a condition of the tournament, was that if Beerus could find the 7th Super Dragon Ball in his universe, with the help of Bulma and the Super Dragon Radar, they would have the tournament. But they couldn't. And it turns out in the end that in reality, the 7th Super Dragon Ball is actually on top, is actually inside of the planet that they're having the tournament on.
Right.
So all 7 Super Dragon Balls have already been collected,
Which
and they
they
can have the wish.
which I kind of saw that coming. They set up that reveal early on in this series because the very first time we ever see Champa and Vados is them collecting one of the Super Dragon Balls, and we see that they have to blow up a planet to get to it. Um, so
Right, forgot about that. Yeah.
so apparently all of the Super Dragon Balls. My assumption is that it's so there's the time in between them being used is so expansive that over time they just gather like space debris and become planets. Um,
Right. And I mean, they sort of talk about that, how these are Dragon Balls basically for the gods, and the only way you can use them is by speaking in the language of the gods, which I really loved. How Whis had to translate for Beerus, or no, he didn't translate for him, but he would speak to the dragon for Beerus,
yeah.
and he would do it in the language of the gods, and he talked in a different voice, and his language sounded totally different.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
it was a nice callback to how Porunga had to be spoken to in Namekian.
Yes, and also nice callback to Porunga is that this is a different style of dragon than Shinron. Shinron's a traditional Chinese dragon. Porunga's like a weird Godzilla type of deal, alien Godzilla type of deal.
Yeah,
And then fucking the Super Dragon, when they finally summon him, is a badass Western style dragon.
yeah.
And that was so cool! It was awesome!
Western Dragon is best dragon.
Western Dragon is best dragon.
He was awesome. I love how
He was
he
awesome.
fucking swallowed Saturn. Just all casual, like he was just like like
Yeah, that was so weird. I was really weirded out by that because I was like, why did he do that? You know, like is that planet gone forever now? Like,
I mean,
are they all responsible for the death of that planet? Like, it opened up a lot of questions in my mind. No, I'm not supposed to think about that shit watching Dragon Ball, but I did, and it hurt.
at least we know that there's no life on Saturn.
As far as we know,
Pretty sure it's a gas giant, isn't it?
it is. But
So
you never know, Dylan. There could be gas worms.
anyway,
The way, if only you could see the way he just looked at me, the look of confusion and disgust.
just a planet full of ass blasters. But anyway,
Yeah. Best planet.
they
I thought the summoning sequence was fucking really drawn out. It was drawn out because, you know, he's the god of all dragons, I guess. He's the super dragon.
yeah, I forget his
But
name. It's like
do we really need him to swallow, like, the universe or whatever? Or, like, for all of... for him to get as big as, like, the entire universe and
Well, Zuno, that fucking guy. He tells us the thing's name, and it's like fucking, it's like Zarama or something, and it's like stated that he is like the dragon god. He may be the only character that may possibly be just as powerful, like in a magic sense, as fucking the Omni King. Because I mean, those Dragon Balls have no limit. He can literally do anything. Um, Conceivably, you could even wish to take over the Omni King's position, couldn't you? Um,
Presumably, you could wish for unlimited wishes, which is something you can't do with the Dragon Balls.
Indeed, you could probably wish for. I mean, they said it's unlimited, so I'm going with it. You could wish for anything. Fucking unlimited power, unlimited money, and unlimited rice pudding, whatever you want. Uh,
That's what I thought Beerus would have wanted after the big stink he made in the Battle of God saga.
but what he, oh yeah, what if he had wished for pudding? That would have been.
That would have been great. Now, what he did wish for ended up being cool too, because it made me like Beerus more, and that was nice.
Mhm. So do you wanna reveal that to the audience?
Oh yeah, I mean we're not making a secret out of it. I mean Beerus wished for the Earth of Universe 6, which had prior been destroyed in Champa's universe. It was
Yes.
part of the motivation for the tournament. The original goal of the wish was to have them switch Earths if Champa lost. I mean, if Champa won. I'm
That's
sorry.
why Champa didn't just think of, oh, I can use them to restore my version of Earth.
Well, because he might not think that they're gonna have the same food. Because what Beerus does is he wishes for Earth to be restored and to have the same culture as the Earth of his universe. So it's essentially the same planet,
Right.
which makes me wonder if the people are the same. And if Goku and all of them are on that planet, like it makes you wonder, right? Like what exactly is on that version of Earth?
It does. And are they aware of the fact that they're not in Universe 7? Would they have like the same memories as our version of Goku and Vegeta? Would they go out into the universe and meet this Universe 6 version of the Saiyans and be like, the fuck is this? Uh,
Yeah, like again, it's Dragon Ball. You're not really supposed to think about all the stuff that Toriyama isn't drawing your attention to, but it makes you think, right? It makes you think, and it's terrifying the consequences of these characters that seemingly do things on whims. Um, but aside from the really drawn out summoning sequence and the weird looking universes and everything, Dylan, why did they have to go inside of him to fucking say the wish? I guess it was because he was
uh,
too big.
yeah,
I guess he was
they
too
had to
big to like really
speak.
face him.
They had to speak to like his nucleus. Like there was a smaller version of Is that his name, Zarama? I'm just gonna call him Zarama.
I don't. They didn't call him. They didn't give him a name when they were actually talking to him. It was just that prior point when they talked to the question dude.
Right. Anyway, there's a smaller version of him inside of the larger version of him, or maybe it's just like more of a psychological Zalama, according to the internet. Zalama Zarama, you know how R's and L's are in Japanese. I'm gonna keep calling him Zarama because that sounds better to me. Um, I guess I don't know. It seems like they're speaking to his mind, I guess, in like an X-Men astral form sort of way.
Yeah, I guess. And I guess again, I guess that makes more sense in terms of we see how big he is, and he's the size of like the entire universe. So it makes sense that they can't just like go up to his like a corner of his eye and speak into that.
Another possibility is that it's because he's so big that he actually sort of engulfs the universe with his presence, and thus they were already inside him anyway and had to go speak to his core.
There are galaxies and stuff inside of him, so I do think that is the idea. My whole issue with it is not the ideas behind it. It's just it was a really drawn out sequence, and at a certain point I was like, "Fuck! Can they just make the goddamn wish already?"
Yeah. Um.
But ultimately, it was an awesome sequence, awesome design. It was really nice to see a return of that different language thing. It was a great sequence, aside from it being dragged out. Would you agree?
Exactly. Yes, I would. I would definitely.
All right, so Dylan, why don't we kind of wrap things up then with the last couple of episodes that happen after all the big plot points happen? In terms of the stuff we haven't talked about, we've covered a bit of them already. I don't really have much else to add to the Monica being keeping the Monica secret from Goku episode. Like
No.
the fight between him and Beerus is funny. It's a very funny episode. It's a great one-off joke episode. It's great. I really enjoyed watching it, but there's not really a lot to sink your teeth into,
Mhm.
you know, discussion-wise. The one with Pam where Goku is losing his ki is great.
Yes.
The
I
actual
just
like,
wish that the episode focused a little bit more on that idea and didn't have to have this weird subplot with Pilaf and the gang and
or if they were gonna have them kidnap Pan if that would have been brought more to the forefront, because it ultimately turns out to be nothing.
Like, I don't mind Pilaf and the gang having a presence in Super. I think it's great. They make for good comic relief, but they focus on them way too much at times, and it really gets on my nerves a little bit. And this is an example of that. They didn't need to be.
Especially Pilaf, because he's so annoying and so obnoxious.
Yeah, and, I already, and it's going to be even better because I know what his voice sounds like in the English dub. Um, but what was I talking about? Oh, right. And they didn't need to be in
But
the
did you think
episode. It would
they
be.
should have picked one and like focused on that?
Yeah, it would.
You know, Pan being kidnapped or Goku losing his key.
You want to do an episode about them kidnapping Pan? Great. Make that a separate episode because that could turn into like its own marvelous little misadventure. It's sort of out of place because they haven't been really filling a villain role recently, but still, it's a fun idea for a story.
Actually, Dylan, you know what? I actually like what they did. I just wish they would have developed the peel-off thing more, only because I just remembered they explained that Peel-off and all of them are only attacking Goku now because they heard from Bulma and Vegeta that Goku lost the ability to control his ki, and they know that he's weakened.
Yeah, but
So
even
they think that now they can take him down. But that could have also been interesting, though,
but even
because I
still,
think
Pilaf
but I
and
think that, but
gang.
hang on, I think the idea was supposed to be that it might be kind of fun and interesting to see Goku have to go up against these guys who he deems as a joke and doesn't even recognize or remember when he can't control his ki. But they don't do that. Pan takes care of them on her own. So if they would have played up that element more and had that play a role in the story, I think it could have been really interesting. But they didn't, and it just turned into a big joke.
Instead, they do this really weird thing where Pan flies them up into space, and like there's a weird GT vibe. Um,
Also, how the fuck can she breathe in space?
Also, actually, yeah, this whole episode just
How
feels.
can any of them breathe in
This
space?
whole episode's got this weird GT vibe because
It does.
Pilaf and the gang have not been a villainous force for quite some time. I don't buy them going after Goku, even if they did hear that his energy is down. All they want to do right now is just have a good time. Honestly, I mean, Pilaf and the gang in GT, where they came back after all these years and they were still a menacing force, and they like turned him into a child. Fine, great, because you established them as being that. But in this version, where they've become these comic characters, it just doesn't fly with me at all. Um, I think it would have been a much more interesting episode if we had just focused on Goku's loss of key control, and the fact that he actually has to be a fucking grandpa for a little while.
Yeah,
Because
because he's
all of
bad at it.
the interactions between him and Baby Pan is great stuff. Fucking
Well, and I say he's bad at it. He's bad at it in the sense of he loses the kid, but he's good at it in the sense of his relationship with Pan is genuine, and you get a really good genuine connection from them.
exactly.
And there's this cool moment where he's sitting up on the roof with Piccolo, and he's like, I kind of feel like a grandfather for the first time, like just because I'm down here and kind of trapped in this, moment to moment, day by day life, not worrying about training. I feel like for the first time that it's really sunken in that this is my grandchild and I am a grandpa. So I really liked that. It was nice to see Goku get to be grounded. It was just nice to see Goku have to like deal with the like not being able to train for a while, because that's all he ever wants to fucking do is train. So
Well,
it
we
was nice to see
well we've always said
him
that
not being able to.
We've always said that we love the moments in Dragon Ball where you get to see Goku like trying to go about normal daily life. This is what I love about him and Piccolo driving cars. This is what I love about the beginning of the Android 13 movie where we see him out with Chi-Chi fucking shopping and trying to help carry all of her fucking bags. Like it's always great to see him in those kinds of moments. But before it was always like, yeah, but he could fly off at any time. This was the perfect episode where you have him stuck as a normal guy for a little bit, and you could have done so much with that, but instead you had to be like, and then the Pilaf gang kidnapped Pan. I'm like, ugh.
And they could have made that really interesting, but they just turned it into a big joke, like we said. So this episode has some really
It didn't
cool,
even have to
interesting
be the
ideas.
Pilaf gang. You want to do an episode where Pan gets kidnapped? Fine. She's the granddaughter of one of the richest men in the world. You could have just had some thugs like kidnap her for ransom and shit,
That's true.
and
That's
then
true.
have them go on like a misadventure because she's hard to handle because she's a quarter Saiyan. Uh,
Right. Could have done that. Absolutely. I just think that idea is really interesting, and I wish they would have done something with it, especially since everybody thinks that Pilaf and the gang is a joke now, and they don't even recognize them. So it would have been nice to see that get addressed in some capacity, and it hasn't yet. Um,
yeah.
But
I just
yeah,
don't think
just
that's
kind
going
of
to
a
happen
mixed
for
bag of an
Pilaf.
episode.
I don't think that's going to happen for Pilaf. It happened for Frieza. Frieza had become a joke in like specials post Z's end, and then they made him a badass enemy again. But I don't think that's going to happen for fucking Pilaf.
I don't think so, but I just like to see like something done with that element. So, but anyway, that's beside the point. So let's move on then to the three-parter that takes place after that, where Goku has his ki back and he has to go fight the Thing essentially. So Dylan would basically get like Dragon Ball's version of the Thing, in my opinion.
It's also
A
very
little, a
similar.
little.
It's also another example of how they use these filler episodes to do ideas that are kind of sort of nods to GT, because I got a baby vibe um, from this
I got
whole
a baby vibe as well, yeah.
from the whole situation. Very baby.
I'm
Um,
still not convinced that something they might do in the future might not be a version of Baby.
some people are still not convinced that GT might still be in canon, but it's fucking not.
They're idiots because Pan would be way older in that if that was true.
Denial ain't just a river in Egypt.
No, Toriyama has said that if anything, it's one of the 12 universes, I
Oh,
believe.
that's just him pandering to the people who are in denial. And I ain't talking about the river in Egypt.
All right.
Maybe
Uh,
GT is what happens to that restored version of Earth that is in Universe 6.
oh, that's not a bad idea. That would kind of line up timeline-wise, too.
Except it doesn't, because Frieza is in
No.
that version of Hell and he doesn't exist in Universe 6. So all you GT fans can suck a dick. Anyway,
But Frieza died on Earth.
in our universe. And also, apparently, different planets have different hells, because Frieza in Resurrection F specifically says, I had to
I
suffer
guess.
in Earth's hell, which was never a thing in Dragon Ball. You see the fucking Ginyu Force and all the other people, and they're just in one hell, but never in anything that's canon, so I guess it makes okay sense. And I'm rambling again. What were we talking about?
With what Toriyama wrote in the books, yeah. But anyway, so let's just wrap up with that last three-part arc that takes place on the other planet.
Yeah, fucking.
So I thought it was really fun. I didn't really know where it was going at first. Like, it's a bit like all over the place kind of initially. Like, you see the other planet, you see that there's like, you know, criminal shenanigans going on. Then Monica goes there and he brings Goten and Trunks with him by accident. And initially I was like, oh god, this story arc is going to focus on Goten and Trunks. Great. Not for
Right.
very long. Very quickly, Jocko's thrown in there. Vegeta's thrown in there. It's great when Vegeta and Jocko have to travel via spaceship together. That was awesome. Uh, then Vegeta and everybody get there. Vegeta tries to fight off what the criminals were looking for on this planet, which is this superhuman water that is apparently supposed to make you super powerful, but in reality, it's a living thing that steals your power and your personality and becomes its own individual warrior with that power and personality.
I just thought of, wouldn't it be so good and less convoluted and not have so many continuity errors if they just set this fucking series after the end of Z instead of putting it in this weird time skip, and you could have Goku and Vegeta, they go off to train with Beerus and Whis, and in the meantime, Oob and Goten and Trunks have to be the defenders of Earth while they're gone.
Because I think GT is still really fresh in people's memories, and Toriyama didn't want to touch that yet.
But
Because a lot of people do like GT, though, Dylan.
I
You
know
gotta remember that.
I don't hate everything in GT,
No, me neither.
but still, eh.
But I think that was the concern at first, so that's why he was like, let's just do it right after Boo. Also, remember, Boo is the last villain that people remember. Like, if you just ask any Joe Blow on the street who might happen to know Dragon Ball Z, you'll be like, oh, who's the last villain? They'd be like, well, Majin Buu, because that was the last saga.
Right.
So I think that he set it there for the sake of, like, well, that's what people
But
remember.
it's just created so many problems. The continuity is fucked now, and
Yeah.
eventually
No, I'm with you.
eventually they might have to like redo the events of the end of Z and like do a pseudo retcon where like they just change some of the details to make it work.
They're gonna have to, because Pan is now older than Bulla.
Yeah, which was not a thing before.
Yeah, no. The other thing is...
That's another reason GT doesn't work anymore.
Also, Oob gets a name drop in this.
Yeah.
In the Universe 6 saga.
Was it a name drop, or was it just like, oh, there's a kid now who's the reincarnation of?
Well, they don't call him Oob, but Goku brings it up even though he knows it's not gonna work, because he's like, oh, Majin Buu got reincarnated as a kid and he's really powerful, so we could use him. And then he's like, oh no, he was just born, so he'd just be a toddler.
Yeah.
So I guess not.
I thought that was a nice continuity nod, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that.
As much as
It still makes figuring out what the hell they're gonna do with the ending of Z later fucked, but you know, it's already been there, so I guess it's not really a
They
big
might
deal.
not even address it. This show might wrap up long before that time skip is over, and then they'll just be like, rationalize on your own, fuckers. Uh,
Yeah, but I imagine they'll probably want to continue it after that because of how popular Super is now.
yeah, maybe.
Like once they introduced Future Trunks, the popularity of this show upscaled a lot
What if
because people started giving a shit.
what if there's some sort of god form that humans could reach? Because that's the only way Goku would be able to train Oob to come even close to his level.
Yeah, well, I mean, but Oob's already got weird powers anyway because he's got the strength of Majin Buu.
Yeah,
So
which doesn't really make any sense because he's supposed to be a reincarnation. He should just be a regular human who just happened to share a soul with Kid Buu. I mean, that should be the only. But what?
but he's supposed to have the strength though is the idea.
Yeah,
So he's got to have some similar powers. So I'm assuming he's got to have some of those same attacks, which is interesting because Boo is such a non-human entity. But anyway, we were working on wrapping this up. Let's
we
wrap up with
were.
the arc.
Yes,
So listen. The whole point of it seems to be they get to this planet. Vegeta's there. He gets his powers taken. There's a
Vegeta
cloned.
comes there. Vegeta comes there to try and rescue Goten and Trunks, who were whisked away there uh, without their own consent. Basically, they climbed in the back of Manaka's delivery truck and didn't think, oh wait, he might leave Earth at any second. And then they got locked in there and they got dragged along to this alien planet and there's babies on it. um, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's just all a matter of like, you know, what was I trying to say? I was just trying to wrap up on the plot synopsis. So basically, what happens is Vegeta gets cloned. He fights Goku. Because Goku gets there eventually because he's back at full power now after his little key trouble that he had in the previous episode. And he and the cloned Vegeta get very into the fight because Goku is like, I'm never gonna have another duel to the death with Vegeta again, probably. So I'm getting really excited about this because it's gonna be kind of a one-off. And the cloned Vegeta, because it has both the personality and the fighting power of Vegeta, gets really into the fight too because he remembers his rivalry with Goku.
He has the memories too. That's an important point.
Right, because early on we see that where his superior, who's like the intelligence of this superhuman water entity, like the main thing, if we're comparing it to that, uh, is like, oh, absorb the kid's power. He's got to have a power, and got to have a lot of power. Sorry, it's late. I'm losing my words. And Vegeta won't do it because Trunks is his son, and he remembers that. The duplicated clone Vegeta.
Yeah.
So Dylan, what'd you think of all that? It's very weird. It's very kind of like it comes out of nowhere, and it gets weirdly big towards the end, out of nowhere. Did you enjoy it?
Those first two episodes, I wasn't really digging it, and then when we get to the fight between Goku and Clone Vegeta, that moment really sort of makes it okay. That the last episode of that three-parter, because it is neat seeing Goku in like a serious fight with Vegeta again, even if technically it is a clone Vegeta. I thought it was great that regular Vegeta like sort of forgot in the moment that he was going to die under the conditions of how the superhuman water works, and he's just like
Yeah.
he's rooting for the clone him to beat Kakarot because he can't stand the fact that even after all his training, his clone version is still going to lose to Kakarot. It was also neat to see him have to suck on that pacifier, and
Yeah.
he didn't know what a pacifier was because obviously he's not from Earth, and I don't think he paid too much attention.
No, he did know what a pacifier was. He just didn't know that's what it was. It isn't until
I,
Goku gets back. Okay,
the
so when
sentence
he
that
gets
just came
back,
out of your mouth was he knows what a pacifier was, but he didn't know what it was.
he didn't know what he put in his. He didn't know that what he put in his mouth was a pacifier. Like he just didn't think about it. Because in the moment he was so concerned with surviving that he just put it in his mouth and he was like, "I'm good," and then he just sits there. He didn't realize it was a pacifier. That's what he says.
Well, the thing is, it looks like a pacifier. Technically, it's an alien key that holds the superhuman water at bay, but we all know it's a pacifier.
Right. I mean, you suck on it to survive. So yeah, it's a pacifier.
But that was a
But yeah,
nice
he knew what a pacifier was, though.
bit of humor from this series.
I enjoyed that as well. I just thought that the whole superhuman water thing kind of came out of nowhere and was a bit nonsensical. So what the only surviving member of the species that built it as a weapon says, and that's why it's kind of like the thing in like a whole bunch of other sci-fi horror movies, is that it's a weapon that turned against them and killed everybody.
Baby.
Is that baby, yeah. And they're kind of like the Tuffles, I guess, because they were a species that was too weak to fight on their own, so they wanted to steal the power of other warrior races to use to protect themselves. But again, backfired for a really obvious reason too. They're like, all right, we want the personalities of these people because that'll make them better fighters.
Well, no,
The only logic, well,
I was under the impression that that was an unintended side effect.
no, they say that they did that to make them better warriors, and the only advantage to that I can think is that they would already be able to know how to use all their attacks and
Right,
everything.
you would avoid the Ginyu problem.
Right, but yeah, they say it like it's this big advantage when in reality it's not really that much of an advantage. You'd almost just want the raw power and then go from there and do what you can, as opposed to having all these evil, super powerful people running around your planet that why are they going to listen to you? I mean, I guess they do because they've got that control thing
Basically,
with that crystal.
they went from having super powerful evil beings threatening their world to having super powerful evil beings threatening their world who can also absorb people.
Yeah. But again, they have like that crystal thing that keeps it all under one intelligence, but what's stopping that one intelligence from having all these evil spirits seep
And
into it and then wanting power, and that's what happens. So they're dumb.
that one intelligence is clearly shit at its job because it can't control Vegeta. So it does nothing. And then
It almost seems like his Saiyan pride though kind of gets through all of that
the
as a
problem
unique
the
example.
problem is it's another anticlimax because right in the middle of the fight between Clone Vegeta and Goku, Manaka steps on the crystal thing, and that's what takes away the superhuman powers, the superhuman water's powers long enough for Goku to finish him off and return Vegeta's energy to him. Um,
Right. So it ultimately doesn't end up being the fight that's the thing that saves Vegeta's life. It's it's Toriyama coming in at the last second to write in an element that can save him
yeah,
by having a guy remember, oh, by the way, I just remembered, here's how we can save your dad and deflate all the conflict. All the conflict's not deflated. The fight's still going on and it's interesting, but the conflict with Vegeta dying is certainly deflated.
I'm not sure.
But I'm with you,
I'm
man.
not sure if I prefer it that way or not because on the one hand, it's like this interesting thing that Goku needed Manaka to step on the jewel before he could finish off the clone Vegeta in time because it shows that Vegeta has actually progressed to the point where he's a lot closer to Goku than maybe he was in times past. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of neat. But at the same time, it's like it just creates this anticlimax sort of deal where Manaka steps on the crystal because we're running out of runtime, and then the plot just and then
Yeah.
it's over.
No, I'm definitely with you. I thought it was okay though because the Vegeta and Goku fight really is the most interesting element of it all. So everything else wrapping up around it was fine. The only thing is though at that point, why doesn't Vegeta just intervene in the fight? You know.
Yeah.
But whatever. Again, you think about those elements later, enjoy it in the moment, and I did. These weren't the first two episodes weren't bad as well. I mean, we may have given that impression, but just because they kind of come out of nowhere. All these elements get introduced really
Well,
quickly.
they're just
There isn't enough time. There isn't enough time to get super invested in them, and then they're over. So really, the things that you latch onto are Vegeta, Goku, Vegeta's relationship with Trunks, the sort of interesting elements of the superhuman water, and the fight between Goku and
Well,
Vegeta.
the first episode is just a Goten and Trunks side quest. And I don't think anybody wants more Goten and Trunks side quest. That's like Broly's second coming without Broly. Um, and then
Then it's just second coming, and nobody wants to see that.
exactly, exactly. The first coming was fine, and then Vegeta comes in the second one, and then it's like, okay, that's kind of neat. And then he gets his power stolen. You're like, eh. And then, yeah, the third is the best out of the three, I would say. But none of them really blew me away, honestly.
No, they're all just kind of
I mean, it's just a
they're
little, it's just
it's an interesting side quest.
it's just a fun little mini arc because they were still working out that Black Goku saga.
Right, and we will work that out in a future podcast on the Demons from Outer Space. But the last thing I wanted to bring up before we wrap up, though, in terms of this little 3 episode mini arc, is that I didn't really. I get that the clone Vegeta has all of Vegeta's abilities, but him going Super Saiyan Blue in that form was fucking weird looking.
It was. They could have just put a blue aura around the thing,
Yeah.
the thing, and then it would have
Yeah,
been.
he was sort of
It just
at
looked
that point.
weird, like the purple skin and the fucking baby lines. That's another reason it reminded me of baby headlines on his face.
Yeah.
It just looked weird that with blue hair.
I thought he looked like Bojack
Bojack.
or Super Android 13.
The lines on his face?
Just in general, just like the Super Saiyan mixed with the weird colors and the
Oh, okay.
purple
I
and
get what you
blue.
mean.
You know what I mean? Just in terms of those contrasting colors, like it looked like Super Android 13 or like BoJack in his super form.
Well, his face is all melty, so it also gives off a Bio Broly vibe. But
Yeah, a little bit of Bio Broly, but without the giant middle chest Saiyan heart. Uh,
without the dreadlocks sticking out of the back,
yeah, that's
like fucking the Batman's Joker. Oh,
yeah. He's got a weird mullet, uh, or dreadlocks in that
is
instance.
that version of the Joker black? I can never figure it out because of the makeup.
No, he wasn't. They show later that when they show what's his name, Jack Napier, the guy who turns into the Joker, he's white. So no, he's not black.
I didn't.
But he was clearly supposed to be. He was supposed to be though
I didn't stick.
early on.
I didn't stick with that show long enough to find out.
I just saw that clip on YouTube because it was called Batman meets Jack Napier, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I watched it, and I was like, oh, so that version. I thought that I was like, oh, this version of the Joker's not black. That's not what I thought. But
Yeah,
yeah, the Batman aside,
he just really got into Rastafarianism after
yeah,
after falling into a vat of chemicals.
that's the screw that the chemicals knocked loose, was that he became a massive Wygro,
Yeah,
a wigger. Just really big into Bob Marley, you know.
yeah.
And who wouldn't be?
He just wants the ganja.
Who doesn't? So Dylan, on that note, why don't we wrap up with this review of Dragon Ball Super, the Universe 6 arc? Dylan, the thing I wanted to say before was that I kind of felt like a kid watching Dragon Ball Z again, watching this,
Yeah, I've
because it was
I've felt that way ever since they got done with the rehash shit.
because it felt like watching new stuff, and like
It
you're
was.
seeing, well, yeah, I know, but like you're seeing this new story you've never seen before. It's the episodic quality of it.
Mhm.
You're getting to see all the same kind of pacing moments. There's a whole bunch of people staring at each other. It feels like I felt like I was a kid again watching Dragon Ball Z new, and feeling that nostalgic feeling again really did my heart good. So
This is
I
why
had almost nothing but positivity for this arc of Dragon Ball Super,
this is
which
why
is
I was
saying something
so
given our last two reviews.
this is why I was so pissed off during the Resurrection F arc review because by that point I had already seen some of the Universe 6 shit and I was like we could have been having this all along if they weren't doing that rehash shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fucking bullshit.
Definitely. Definitely.
Just air the movies on TV and then have episode 28 be episode 1. That's all you would have had to do.
Definitely. No, I totally agree. And watching this arc, it definitely would have worked that way. There really isn't a lot if anything, that they set up in the Resurrection F version of this, or the Battle of Gods version of this, that came into play.
Oh,
You could have just had the movies be canon.
one thing I wanted to say as a criticism that we totally forgot is that early on, before they actually go to the Universe 6 tournament, but actually after they find out about it, there's this one episode that's half a clip show, and that was really it made me go ugh because it's only like half of the episode is a clip show, but it's like replaying clips of the two arcs that we just got done watching and hating, and it's like ugh. But then
Which one were you referring to with that? Because I don't even think I remember it.
it's the one where the best part of the episode we actually get to see a little bit of Goku and Piccolo training.
Right.
But before that, there's all these flashbacks where like Whis is talking to Beerus about like how far the Saiyans have come, and we see flashbacks to Beerus fighting Goku, and
I do
and
remember
it's
this.
the
Okay,
super
yeah.
version of Beerus fighting Goku. So it's like and then
Right, right. I do remember that
yeah,
now.
half of the episode is a clip show, and that really
It didn't bug me because I didn't really even realize in the moment that I was watching a clip show, as you can tell.
it really bummed me out. I don't know. But luckily the second half of the
I feel
episode,
that.
and luckily the second half of the episode was not a clip show, so that was all right. Um,
Definitely. All right, so Dylan, I've really got nothing else to add. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to keep up with Super week to week now that I'm all caught up.
yes.
Dylan, for once, to answer a question that I asked at the beginning of the first review we did for this show and this podcast, did I think this was super? I actually thought this was pretty fucking super. In the song, the Shoshetsu dynamic, whatever that song is called, the intro song for this, which
Yes.
has grown on me over time.
I wish they could
I wasn't crazy about
I
it
wish they
initially. I really enjoy it now.
I wish they could just pick a fucking outro song. I know that's a thing in anime. They change the outro songs regularly, but ugh. Uh,
I really liked the one they had before the one they have now.
Yeah, I liked that one too a lot. I liked the very first one they had, and then they changed to another one that I was
I
kind of
really liked the very first one as well too.
then they changed
But
this to
but
this
that one
other
they
one,
had that
and
was
I was
like
like,
wow, I really liked that one.
yeah, the one before that was decent too. The second one I
It was
didn't really
okay.
care for because it was the first time they had ever changed it, I guess, and I was just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, you're like why? Why though?
I just hope they don't change the intro song at any point like they did with Attack on Titan season one.
I'd be okay with it. We've had it for a long time now. If they changed it now, I'd be okay with it. I really like
If
it,
it
but
was
it's been a
really
long time.
if it was like really fucking good, I'd be okay with it, I guess. But you gotta, I mean, look what happened with Attack on Titan. Not that the second song was bad; it was just far and away less. It was just inferior to the first one in every conceivable.
What if they start using Cha? What if they started using Cha La Head Cha La again?
It would be that remixed bullshit. They wouldn't use
I
a lot.
liked the Battle of Gods one though,
That's okay. I can't listen.
and the Resurrection F one's okay.
I can't listen to it though because it doesn't give me those feels.
I feel you.
If I'm listening to anything from Resurrection F, it's fucking Pledge of Z from the end credits, or if I'm in a different kind of mood F. Um,
Oh yeah, no, definitely. You need F in your life. You need lots of F.
indeed.
You got lots of F. All right, Dylan. Well, let's wrap up this episode of the Demons Matter Space then
It's
with
funny because I don't
this.
usually like that kind of like death metal where you can't understand what they're saying, but it's fine in that case because it's Japanese, so I wouldn't be able to understand what they were saying anyway.
I'm totally with you. I feel the same way. It's just like, well, I don't really have to worry about the fact they might be talking about like, fucking your mother with a needle or whatever. It's
And,
all good. It's just they're singing about Frieza. It's great.
and I've seen the English lyrics to that song on YouTube videos before, and it's some hardcore shit, so I'm all about it.
Fuck you with Frieza's tail and then blow up Namek with it
No, it's like
during the sex. That's what the song's about. That's an exact quote.
the lyrics are all about like how Frieza is like a tyrant and like genocide and shit, and like then the YouTube video that I was watching,
And about how great that is.
and then the YouTube video I was watching showed like stock footage of Hitler and shit, and I was like, I'm into this, man.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. I'm gonna have to watch that now. Oh, that's hilarious. All right. So Dylan, that's gonna do it for this review of the Universe 6 Saga of Dragon Ball Super, because I'm really tired and I need to go to sleep and I can't analyze Akira Toriyama's bullshit anymore. So Dylan, with that said, on the next episode of the Demons from Outer Space, which we will be recording after we get back from
Did we
G-Fest,
want to tell them what we were doing for that, or do we want to leave that as a surprise?
no, we'll surprise them.
Good.
But
That's what I
I
want to
guess
do.
should we at the very least tease them?
No, because I might figure it out.
All right, fine. So we'll tease. So we won't even tease them. We'll just leave it up in the air. But we should at least say that that is going to be the last episode of the Demons from Outer Space for the season, and then we're done. We're done, kids. No
Yeah.
more.
Until
Never again. There's no more Demons
never,
from Outer Space.
never. You'll never
No more
hear us
demons.
review X-Men 2, 3, fucking the rest.
Or the Black Goku saga, the true sadness.
Oh,
No, we have to do that.
you're right.
We'll do a separate video on that if we have to.
Damn.
That's how devoted we are. But no, but that will be the season finale, so we are going to be doing a special for that, and I think it's going to be really fun. We're going to be digging. Nah, it's too much spoilers. Whatever, you'll see. I'm not even going to say anything about it. Just wait, it's going to be great. So yeah, Dylan, are you excited? I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting video. That's one that we talked about doing a long time ago.
Yeah, that was supposed to be our 2-year anniversary video.
Right. Now, is it still just 2 years that we've been doing this show?
Yeah, it's going to be 3 years this November.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're getting old, man.
I believe you.
We will have been doing this podcast as long as the time skip in between the Future Trunks saga and the Android saga in Dragon Ball Z.
Holy fuck.
Think about it. Look at how long Gohan's hair got, Dylan.
It's insane.
How can you forgive yourself? For doing a podcast for that long.
Does
No.
he not have
All
a
right.
barber?
No, clearly not. His dad, it seems. And would you really trust Goku with a pair of scissors?
No, at that point, I think I'd just have to go bald like Krillin.
Definitely. I think that's why Krillin was bald.
At least you can pull off that sweet ass TN look.
Yeah, he's definitely pulling off the Mr. Clean look. All right, Dylan. So until our season finale of the Demons from Outer Space, we'll see y'all at G-Fest when we do our road trip to G-Fest 23. Dylan, would you like to reveal the title for this year's upcoming G-Fest?
No.
Do you remember it?
I do. I came up with it, Bill. You asked me if
But
I.
I,
You asked me
you
if I
know,
wanted. You asked me if I wanted to reveal it in the last episode of DFS, and I was like, no. So what makes you think things have changed?
you want to hang on to it still?
Yeah.
My memory is so shot, dude. I have to go to sleep. I'm so tired.
I want them to see that in the fucking video and be like, oh, that's disappointing.
You want their mouths to drop at your genius. I see how it is.
Uh,
Fair enough, I guess. I guess.
well, particularly, I don't think it's gonna go that way. I think they're gonna look at it and be like, ah, I built that up way more in my mind. No,
Oh, so you want them to be disappointed?
always.
Okay, good. So we surely won't disappoint them in that regard. So until next time, everyone, we'll see you at G-Fest. I'm Bill Worster, aka Zazubaar.
I'm Super DM64.
And remember, kids, they finally had an amazing story to tell, like the song has always promised. In Dragon Ball Super, is what I was referring to.
Yes.
Dem Germans, they be fucked up. Always kill Krillin.
Always.
Hashtag that shit.